What's up, guys? On the Flythe back again. It is, we're actually, well, you know what time it is. You know what day it is. We're going live. Why am I going to tell you that? But hope you guys have had a great week. It's been a busy, busy week here for me at least. I don't know about Warden, but let me introduce the guy coming right in. The Warden of the Asylum. Uh, he's here again and we got a lot to talk about this week. So a lot of interesting stuff to talk about this week, and he's put me on the spot this week. I'll put it this way: like I put him on the spot with Daughtry, somebody he didn't know a lot about. He's put me on the spot this week with ZZ Top. He gave me his top 10 list. I listened and I ranked what I thought, and I think also you know, Warden told me you need to watch a documentary on Netflix, the ZZ Top documentary. What was it called again? The little old band from
Little
Texas.
band from Texas.
Yeah, and I will tell you this. You know, I've said this before. I can if I watch a documentary or watch something like that on a band, even a band I don't really know a lot about or like, I automatically start listening to the music, and that was what happened with this. You know, it kind of makes you a fan of that band, even bigger fan of that band, I guess. But my ZZ Top, and we'll get into this. Let's get to the stories we were talking about it before we went on the air a little bit. Uh, First of all, some scary news coming out this today. Hopefully, nothing that's going to come of it. But Ozzy Osbourne has tested positive for COVID. Sharon came out talking about it, and uh, interview with Talk TV. She said, I spoke to him and he's okay. She said, I'm very worried about Ozzy right now. We've gone 2 years without him catching COVID, and just Ozzy's luck, he would get it now. She added that she plans to fly back to Los Angeles to be with her husband and hold him and kiss him with about 3 masks on. It will take a week to get my old man back on his feet again, she said through tears. Ozzy has previously expressed concern about contracting the virus. He said, I've got emphysema, so if I get the virus, I'm fucked. He told GQ in 2020. And he's going through a lot of health issues right now. September was, he was scheduled to undergo surgery for spine and neck issues, suffered from when he had that fall in 2019. And he's still got one more operation left to do. And then he's trying to come back home, Sharon said. Because I don't know if you heard about that a while back. They're trying to move from the UK from Los Angeles. I think it's about the taxes, and
Which
this is
is
also a bad time for this because earlier this month he confirmed that he has a new album that's been
yes.
completed. No release date yet. Guest appearances from Tony Iommi, which is his former Black Sabbath mate, Eric Clapton, and Jeff Beck.
Yes.
Jeff Beck.
Yes.
Wow. So should be looking forward to that. So hopefully, we send our prayers to Ozzy. Hopefully this COVID stuff doesn't make its way back around again. I did have a friend of mine text me last night. We're in it's a group text chat, and we were messaging back and forth with some people, and real good friend of mine. All of a sudden, he came out and said, "Sorry, I haven't been responding. I've got COVID." And I was like, "Oh man."
Did he have
So
bad symptoms for it? Was it real bad?
he said, I had it. I had it in last August, and I had it bad. I mean, I lost like 15 pounds in a week. Kept a
Wow.
fever of like 102 for 2 weeks straight, which it would break, then come back, break, then come back, and no appetite, just real bad headaches. But I was fortunate enough; I never had to go to the hospital like some people. I guess I had it bad, but I didn't have it bad. And from
Yeah.
what
It
he
it
told me, he said he's had it bad, but it hadn't been as bad as what I had.
yeah. It is something that really. I mean, like Ozzy, kind of freaks me out because I know like a couple people that died from it, and they were
Oh yeah,
older. A couple of them were older, health issues, but I've also known people that are younger and have no symptoms. I mean, it affects people differently. I had it back in the end of January, 31st, and had a close family member have it or have some symptoms, and like, well, I want to go get checked because I work for a school district. So we send out a letter every day, like to the parents, and then just inform them, hey, So I did my due diligence and went and got tested. I had it. I didn't feel a thing. I didn't have any. I
You're
mean,
lucky.
you look at me. I haven't lost my appetite any time in my life. You
Well, I
know, I mean, I didn't have anything. I mean, stay home. And the couple of people that were around me, I said, hey, get tested. I had it. They didn't have it. I did. I was the lucky one. So I got like a week off from work, week off. And I was lucky that I didn't have bad symptoms. So, I mean,
exactly.
and especially when you're older and health conditions like that with Ozzy, I mean, God knows he's probably
Yeah.
only still alive because of Sharon. I mean,
Oh yeah.
she got him straightened up and everything. And they did like a study on him of like, how is this guy still alive? Kind of like Keith Richards. But it's like, yeah, I mean, Ozzy, man, it's like, I have like, man, it's like, man, that's like Elvis. I mean, you kind of, to me, I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh
and
yeah. Definitely.
to our genre, that's where I mean, you talk about who started, that, and that's Ozzy. I mean, and Sabbath. I mean, that was really I mean,
That
Steppen
sounded hard rock.
Steppenwolf, came up with the heavy metal, but Sabbath and Zeppelin to a point. I mean, they perfected it. I mean, that's and I mean, I hope he's. I mean, I'm that
You,
sucks, man.
we talked about this. I think last week or the week before last. We get to an age now where a lot of our heroes in rock and sports and all this are going to pass away. It's look, it could happen any day, which it could happen to anybody, but at that age, you know what I mean. And you don't look at them like that. I'm looking at it when I see the Ozzy thing. I'm like, oh, Ozzy's fine. Ozzy's fine. He's, but yeah, definitely going to pray. Say a prayer for Ozzy tonight. Hopefully he'll get over this, and we're looking forward to the new album. And
That's a kind of ironic. I mean, you say that back in the 70s or 80s. I'm going to pray for Ozzy. It totally mean
you're
a
like,
whole different thing. Yeah, I mean, it would be like, hey, that would,
yeah,
but
pray for
yeah,
Ozzy.
but
That's a
I
little
mean,
different.
the old guy's mellowed over these years, but I mean, still with like, Perry Mason and stuff like, that's some good stuff still. And
Oh yeah,
I think Zach helps, but man, that album coming out with Naomi and Clapton, I mean,
Clapton and Beck. I
yeah,
mean, really?
yeah, no, Beck is, man, he's got some songs that, man, it'll freak you out. You don't even have to do any kind of drugs. I mean, that dude is a genius, man. That dude, I mean, he's not the loser he says he is.
Yeah.
I probably don't own a Beck album, but when I hear
No, I
something,
don't
I'm
either.
like, dude's great. So I can't imagine that collaboration. That'd be great.
That's going to be something to hear. I'm looking forward to that. Um, what else? Was it? I was now see. It's bad getting old when you
Well, I got
when you
good news. I got good news, and
go
it's not
ahead.
really music related. My good friend Pip, Steve, he asked me today. He's going, "What are you doing September 2nd, I think?" And I was like, "I don't know." He goes, "Man, we got some tickets to UT versus UT Austin in Austin," and I'm
Oh,
lifelong Longhorn, and my family they're either Bama or Aggies, and I
ooh,
guess the black sheep of the family.
Bama.
I went to they got a little extension here. I didn't go to Austin, but I went to UTSA, so I've always identified, hey, I'm a Longhorn. I'm orange. And now UTSA is moving up. There's talk about them going maybe to the Big 12. That's the rumor they're saying.
Yeah,
Since Texas and Oklahoma are going to the SEC, I'm just
let's
ready to play
stay.
out. I'm just ready to start playing A&M again because that rivalry is back because that has been missing from this state. They make so much money off that, and I hear the smack talk and I do it, and some of it's from my own family. Oh, them tea sipping Longhorns, and it's a great rivalry. And but yeah, I got that news today, and I was like, I'm down, man. He goes, that'll be a birthday present. I'm like, man, I'm in. I'm in. I mean, that's in September. It's in Austin, which is about
That's
45 minutes away, but I'm going to be mixed feelings because UTSA, where I went, and I really follow UTSA here, they had a good run last year, but playing UT, I mean, it's like, I mean, it's like,
ooh,
I mean,
that's
that's
one of the
like,
early games. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, that shows you how far, yeah, I mean, UT is not what they used to be under Mac Brown, but I mean, they're recruiting pretty good. I mean, coach has got some good skills. I got a couple from Bama. Of course, my Bama people, those guys weren't any good. All right, settle down, as they say. But
We'll
yeah, I'm
see.
looking forward to
There
that.
was, there was a reason they went to Alabama. I mean, they didn't get recruited by Alabama because they weren't any good. Alabama, I will say this, and I'm not disputing his coaching skills, Saban's coaching skills at all, but he's a great coach, but he's an even better recruiter. I
Yeah.
mean, he can get the people in there, and I mean,
Well, I don't think they would have put him in the movie The Blind Side playing himself if he wasn't great. I mean, that's
no,
you talk about
no.
great coaches. I mean, has he? I'm not on big on Bama, but I know Bear Bryant, is that what he called
Bear
him?
Bryant, yeah.
Has he surpassed Bear? You're the sports expert.
See that'll be something I have to look at. I hadn't even thought about that, or to tell you the truth. Bear, wow, that was, I mean, and I'm not saying Saban's not a great coach. Like I said, he's a great coach, but he's an even better recruiter. He can get the guys in there, which you got for one thing, you've got the SEC stamp there, and that automatically, if you play in the SEC, most of the time you're going to get looked at about it in the pros because you play in the strongest conference in college football by far.
Yes.
And then if you're on Alabama, most the Alabama third string quarterback could probably start at any other college in America. I mean,
Yes.
no doubt
Yes.
about it. But and this is what I can't figure out, and it's got to be because you get that brand being an Alabama quarterback. I can't understand why you don't see more. You talked about you had two guys that came from Bama to Texas in the transfer portal, which that's a whole different ball game there too. I've got my feelings about that, but I can't understand why all these kids go. If I'm like a high school All American, like, and I'm looking at the depth chart for Alabama, and I'm looking at these guys ahead that are already there ahead of me, and I'm like, yeah, I'm probably not going to get much playing time. But it's like a friend of mine said, if you just get in there one time at Alabama, you're done. I mean, you're good. But why would you want to go there and sit the bench behind a guy when you can go to I'm talking about go to another SEC team and and get some playing time. But
Well, that's
I
kind
guess
of
it's
why
that
the coach.
Alabama mystique that they like.
When you talk about players on the side, well, you kind of think about coach from Oklahoma. I mean, he went to California. He don't have to go through the SEC no more. It's a lot easier, and it's probably a lot easier for him to
Actually,
recruit.
I will tell you a story about him. Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley played. He well not played, but he was the offensive coordinator at the team I pulled for in North Carolina, Greenville, North Carolina, East Carolina University. And man, he had just like he has now. He had at Oklahoma. He had that offense at ECU where the game I went to, I carried my daughter to her first game. It was against Carolina, and that's like a big kind of a big rivalry. It is for ECU. Carolina doesn't like to play ECU because they look at ECU like, well, that's the little brother. If we lose to them, we've got everything to lose, and they've got nothing to lose. But that night, ECU whipped them 70-41,
Ooh.
and in the background, ECU's colors are purple and gold, and I've got a picture on my wall back here of the stadium that night. But right at dark, when it was starting to get dark, the sky turned like a purple color, and everybody was just like looking like, oh my gosh, this is like a sign here. And by that time, all the Carolina people started leaving the stands, and I think they started singing that song, "Hey, hey, hey, goodbye," and got rid of them and all that stuff.
Na
It
na
was it
na
was pretty cool. It was a
na.
good game for my daughter, her first game. But yeah, so yeah, he was there for a while, and we always knew that he would never, we couldn't get him to be head coach there because he was so talented. It's kind of like a stepping stone, is what a lot of these coaches think about ECU. Well, it's a stepping stone to a bigger job, but it is
Yeah,
what it
but
is.
right after Oklahoma and Texas commit, he leaves. That's like I didn't see that coming. But
That's
I mean,
listen. I'm telling you, he's thinking. I'm going to the SEC. This is a whole different ball game than what conference I'm in now. Let me see, put some feelers out here to the West Coast where I can dominate in this conference. And he's bringing a lot of his guys from Oklahoma with him
yep.
too. So That's what he's thinking. He said, "I want to
Bye
dominate."
bye.
Yeah.
Good for
All
me.
right. See
Good
ya.
for
Y'all have
Texas.
fun out there.
Good for
Y'all have
Texas.
fun
That's a
out
good
there.
thing for Texas because they always own us. We beat them every once in a while. So when I saw him
Yeah.
leave, I was happy dance, happy dance.
What was it? Was it the year before last? Well, last year too. I think they came back on y'all,
Yeah.
and but the year before last was when the girl was on the live on TV, flipped off somebody. I mean, that was the big video meme for everybody back then was show some class, Texas. Of course, I had to
Oh
send
yeah,
that to
show
my
some
brother.
class when I see this all the time with the down horns, whatever. Or there was like something they were going to try to ban that or something. Texas was. I'm like, oh come on.
This
Yeah, they were like, oh well, that's offensive. I'm like, really, dude? You want to see
you don't
offensive?
remember
And
when?
I'm a Longhorn, but I was like,
Yeah,
no,
that's not
no,
offensive.
no. Well, it is. Well, it is offensive, but I'm for free
I
speech,
mean,
so it's
it's not
offensive to
like I'm
me.
flipping you off or anything. I mean,
It's
yeah, if you're a
worse, dude.
Texas fan, it's
It's
offensive.
worse. It's Texas, man. It's worse than that, man. It's worse than flipping off, man. Come on.
That reminds me. That reminds me. I don't know if you said you watched wrestling back in the day. Do you remember when of course, the whole four horsemen thing? You remember
Mhm.
when Sting and all those guys got together? They started doing the
Same
four
thing. Yeah.
horsemen down. Yeah, same thing. I got offended by that too, so don't worry about it.
Yeah. One more thing about football. And I know I hear a lot of rumors. My Longhorn buddies like, hey man, Archie Manning's looking at Texas now. He's looking at Bama or Georgia. So where does he end up at? Your opinion. You're the I know enough to ask the question. You need to answer it. I want your
He'll
expert opinion.
probably he'll probably end up at Bama. He'll probably end up, but I I say that thinking with my head, but I'm hoping he'll end up in Georgia. I
Mhm.
mean, I don't want. I'll tell you this: Bama is like, and I don't hate them, but Bama is like, you know how it gets when a team, especially if it's not your team, dominates so much, and you're just sick of them. You're like, God, anybody but them. It was, of course, the Steelers.
You
I'm
as
not
a
sure a lot of
you as
people
a
thought that way about the Steelers in the '70s.
I'm about to say you as a Steeler fan are telling a cowboy that. Oh, cry me a river, dude. 70s were traumatic for
You know
me,
what we need
man.
to
We
do?
got and we got the one in the 90s only because like you said we paid off the quarterback, which, I like to see that come out. So come
Y'all paid
on.
off Neil Hunham.
Cry me a river.
What we need to do one night, we need to do a watch along of one of the Super Bowls with the Cowboys and Steelers from the '70s.
Yeah, I think I got some buddies that can watch that with you. I mean, I know the result and oh, the Cowboys played really good. Oh yeah,
Poor
they
old
did. They
Jackie
still lost.
Smith.
Well, what was the one with the catch they call it in San Francisco? I think that's the hardest because I really started paying
That was
attention. That was
yeah,
the
that was the catch.
that was the start of the 49ers dominance over us. If there's like one team that I dislike more than I don't really dislike the Steelers because I wish the Cowboys were more like them. It's the 49ers, but I loved Montana, I loved Rice. But man, it got so bad, man. I
Yeah,
became a big Bears fan in the 80s. And that 85 Bears team was awesome. And it was like, I thought you were a Cowboy fan. I go,
wow.
yeah, they got a tie to it. Ditka was a Cowboy. So, make up your
Yeah, that
excuses where you
was
can get them.
that Super Bowl that year with the Bears won was the most boring Super Bowl I've ever watched in my life. And the fact that they didn't let Walter Payton score a touchdown and let Refrigerator Perry score a touchdown, just bonehead. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
but the refrigerator was at a WrestleMania ring, so we can't rag on the fridge, man. Come on, dude. He's got the WWF creds,
it
man.
was
So
WWF back then when he did
that's how
the
great that team
Battle
was. I mean, I probably could have made I now could probably make one as good as their defense was off in
the
offense.
46 defense. I remember it, Buddy Ryan. But all right,
Buddy Ryan, who put a bounty on Jimmy Johnson, and Jimmy Johnson's like, bring it. I miss those
well, he
days.
punched. He look. He's he isn't even the head coach on the excuse me on the Oilers, and he punches out. He's defensive coordinator. He punches the offensive coordinator for the Oilers right there on the sidelines. Punches his own coach. He was hilarious. I love
Well,
Buddy
he put a
Ryan.
bounty on Jimmy when who was the
Yeah.
Eagles.
Well, he did
That's
a lot
another
of
reason
that.
that's another with the Eagles and don't even get you want to talk about a podcast I could do for like 5
The
hours.
the I don't know if you remember the Redskins, the body bag game.
Yeah.
They sent a lot of the Redskins out. They were out there to hurt them. But
And you saw
let's
how they
get
did they did Bounty Gate and how they had a big to do about that. I
well,
mean
if they
that's nothing.
investigated that a little bit further, they would probably do the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah, but that was nothing compared to what they used to do. I mean, those dudes were just
Oh
man
gosh,
tough.
no. All right. One more thing. Well, two more things actually before we get to our main event. Uh, if you're a Kiss fan like we are, that's how Ward and I got to know each other through the Loudcasters. Um, this is it's big because Ace Frehley had his 71st birthday this past week, and one of the tweets that he got was from former bandmate and current Gene Simmons from Kiss. Uh, wished him a happy birthday, and he said, "Happy birthday, Ace, and many more." Also, the invitation still stands. Jump up on stage with us for encores. The fans would love it. So this brought up, people just the Kiss tards started going crazy. Like you said, Ace is back. Ace is back. But no,
But he
it's
didn't tell you so this time, so it's not
yeah,
happening.
Ace is back. He didn't. He's not playing with an ace in his deck, I guess. Um, but it's cool to see Gene do it. And I'll tell you this, and another thing that I about Gene that I noticed this week. Somebody posted, and I guess they posted it for I don't know why it was Ace Frehley's birthday, so they posted Beth unplugged. And I was like, okay, well, that would have been cool if it's Peter Chris, but you should have played 2000 Man if it was since it was Ace. But at the end of that song on Unplugged Beth, I don't know if it's Gene. It could have been one or two things. Gene could have really genuinely felt great about being back with Peter and Ace and look, because the crowd went crazy, of course. Or either Gene was sitting there thinking to himself,
Cha-ching.
money, is some money, ching ching, you know. But the look on his face, man, it was like you don't, you know, it's too often you saw Gene with that look on his face, like he's looking at the crowd, like, okay, here we go. But yeah, I felt to me, and I may be wrong. I generally felt like he felt good about what Peter had just done, and he was like, this is it again. This is how it should have been. But I never really noticed it till I watched it the other day. But
Well, I
it
think
could have been ching ching.
well, Gene has said in interviews, he's ragging on Peter and Ace for, even though they've been sober for years. Oh, they were, and it's like, come on, dead horse, move on. They had their demons,
Exactly.
get over it. And I can see why people get pissed about that. And I love Gene. And Gene said at one time, I would have preferred the band to stay together. But then
Oh
again,
yeah. I mean,
you have this thing of where, I mean, it's like they say four-way marriages and stuff, and they don't work out. And in hindsight, it's like, yeah, it's like that old girlfriend. Like, man, why didn't that work out? Then you start remembering, oh, that's why it didn't work out. And I love Ace. I think I mean, Ace is definitely the most colorful of the bunch. I mean, that stuff with Tom Snyder is priceless. I mean, he's drunk,
love
but
it.
that's why I said on
Plumber.
Facebook. That's why I said on Facebook, it's like to a guitarist and a hell of a plumber, and if you know, you know. But
What do
yeah,
you think? What do you think that piece of pipe backstage Tom Snyder said he was talking about?
oh yeah, I forgot
Tell me
about that.
about it.
Yeah. He walked. Didn't he call Gene a bass player? I mean,
Yeah, he's
And
bad.
Tom Snyder too. People like maybe younger than 50 are like, who the hell is Tom Snyder?
Who is Tom Snyder?
But that guy, when he had everybody, I mean, he was like the kind of the late night Johnny Carson before
Oh yeah.
I don't know who's on there now. It's late
What is
after
that
Fallon
guy's
now.
name?
Yeah, he didn't do carpool karaoke or carpool
Yeah, yeah,
karaoke. He didn't do that, but I mean, it was cool. That was a cool show, and America wasn't as combined it is now with the internet and stuff.
yeah.
But back then, it's like, oh, I see what I mean. It was from New York. It's like, oh, I'm watching. That's how I was with wrestling. I'd watch Ric Flair and stuff, but the WWF was the top dog back then. And I go, oh, let's go to New York. That was the pillar back then. And even the Ric Flairs, Arn Andersons will tell you that's where that's where the money was made.
Oh yeah.
So it was like that was Tom Snyder kind of gave you that, and he put Kiss on there, and Gene and Paul are just horrified. I mean,
I think Paul, I think that actually, on face.
I know Gene's pissed, but I think Paul's kind of like, okay, because you see Paul kind of laughing. It's like, and Paul ain't
Paul's kind of
T-tipper that Gene is. Paul drinks, sometimes.
Yeah, I think Paul kind of fed off Gene.
Yeah,
when he saw Gene was getting ticked off, he was kind of like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'm supposed to be ticked off here. I'm supposed to be the mature one over there." But then you look and you see him; he's over there laughing. I mean, but it was great. That's I can't wait for Tom and Zeus to break that down.
I wish Ace would have stayed in the band, and I think I've said that before. That, man, can you imagine Paul singing like Into the Night? Or I mean, everybody rags on Ace's voice. I have no problem with it. It's like he's not a great singer, but if Paul like did Into the Night or Insane, that should be on Asylum. It's the same video, but I mean, I just can imagine how Ace would have been. Ace would have been staying in the 70s. And I think Gene and Paul look at that. Of course, they wanted Pete gone. They were done with Pete back then and again. And in a lot of phases, Ace was too. But man, Kiss would have been. But I hate to break everybody's bubble. I don't know if I see Ace coming on with the band with Tommy there in the makeup, because I mean, you remember that VH1 was that they put him in that Hall of Fame, I guess, a few years ago.
Yeah,
and they didn't even include they had Tommy in the makeup, which. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't go to my former job and like to hang out with the guy who took mine. I mean, especially
exactly. Oh yeah.
And the makeup's another talk. Oh, it's a makeup. That's not the real spaceman. It belongs to Ace. Well, no, it doesn't belong to Ace. Gene and Paul have it. Music is down, and then you get down to it, it's a business, and it's a heartbreaking business. But I didn't see. Did Paul say anything to Ace? I didn't see anything from Paul.
I'm not going to say he didn't, but I don't remember it up there. Let's see here.
I saw somebody on I guess it's a Peter Chris, but I don't think it's an official. He doesn't have an official Twitter, I don't think. Yeah, but this account was saying something about, oh, happy birthday, Ace, the only true spaceman. And then some guy goes, oh yeah, coming from a bogus Peter Chris account, not a real Peter Chris account. I didn't see anything from Paul. I don't pay attention to Twitter too much as I should, probably.
No, nothing from Paul.
Yeah.
Not that I see.
I think him and Paul are good. I mean, what they did Fire and Water.
They did Fire and Water. I mean, I don't know.
Paul's too busy. Something I missed. Paul's too busy
worried about Elon Musk.
Well, and trying to. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you're not the same person you were. And Paul's my favorite guy, and I know people rag on him, but you're not the same person he's not the same person that wrote Love Gun or Take Me.
Oh,
I mean, he's older. I'm not the same person I was, I mean, I know, but we talked about that, about the Elon Musk thing. It's like, well, you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
where's your
glass houses, Remember this,
exactly.
Stevie, remember this. People in glass houses should not have orgies.
So, moving on. And this is of course, we had Warden up here at first to do his top 10 Rod Stewart songs. And it went from there. We used those songs as some of our top seeds. And we did a 64-song elimination tournament, the Rod Stewart Music Madness Tournament. And we're down to the Sweet 16. We updated you last week on what the 32. Now we're at 16. We're going to update you on that tonight. Okay. Here's the matchup. Tonight versus Baby Jane. And let me get to my Twitter and look and see how bad it was.
It was pretty bad.
Of course. Well,
Tonight was in your top 10, wasn't it? And both of them were in your top 10, weren't they?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's get down.
Yeah, because I remember those were both in your top 10 and they weren't mine. Seems like your list is kind of doing better than mine.
Somebody said, somebody made a comment. Fat Dave on Twitter made a comment. Looks like a good battle between cheesy Rod Stewart and corny Rod Stewart. So, yeah,
That's a good line.
yeah. Let's see.
Which is which though?
That's true. Tonight's the Night versus Baby Jane, and Tonight's the Night. 74% of the vote gets the win. You Wear It Well versus All for Love. Yeah, this one wasn't close either. 77% of the vote, You Wear It Well gets the win. So
That
that
was one of
moves
mine
on.
versus one of yours.
Yeah, you got that one.
Yeah, that's
Definitely
one.
got that one.
That's
That was a
one.
blowout. Hot Legs versus I Don't Want to Talk About It. Hot Legs gets the win, 72% of the vote. Reason to Believe versus Love Touch. 65% of the vote. Reason to Believe moves on.
Okay.
Infatuation, Sonny Pooney's favorite Rod Stewart song.
It's got good taste. It's a great song.
Versus A Night Like This, and Infatuation with 81% of the vote gets the win. Every Picture Tells a Story versus I Know I'm Losing You.
Two of mine. Oh
Every
no, wait. Okay, wait. Every picture tells a story with Just Miss It, but I know I'm losing you. The Temptations. Yeah, that's my.
Yeah. 60% of the vote goes to Every Picture Tells a Story. That moves on. The First Cut Is the Deepest versus Have I Told You Lately? And Sheryl Crow song. Yeah. First Cut Is the Deepest moves on with 57% of the vote. The Killing of Georgie's Part 1 and 2 versus My Heart Can't Tell You No. My Heart Can't Tell You No moves on with almost 70% of the vote.
I can see that. That's a. You got a real kind of. Both are kind of depressing songs. Like just get them over
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
Love lost in both of them.
The big matchup, the closest matchup of the round of 32, People Get Ready versus Lost in You. Lost in You with 51.3% of the vote moves on. All right. Forever Young versus Rhythm of My Heart. Forever Young, of course,
Of course.
76% of the vote moves on. You're You're in My Heart versus Mandolin Wind. And You're in My Heart moves on, 77% of the vote.
Yep.
The Motown Song versus Do You Think I'm Sexy? And yeah, I guess everybody thought he was sexy because 71% of the vote with that moves on. Maggie May versus Broken Arrow. And what I thought, I mean, I knew Maggie May would probably move on, but I thought it would be a lot closer to this. 91% of the vote for Maggie May.
Wow.
Young Turks versus This Old Heart of Mine. And Young Turks with 60% of the vote moves on.
Really? Wow.
Stay With Me versus Some Guys Have All the Luck. And
Oh,
Stay With Me with 59% of the vote moves on.
two of my favorites. I love both those songs.
Yeah, and the last matchup in the round of 32, Downtown Train versus Passion. Downtown Train gets it with 63% of the vote. So here's where we look at where the matchups we're looking at in the Sweet 16.
Are we going to give our picks as we go
You
along?
can, yeah, you can give it, yeah,
Okay.
we'll give our picks as we go along, what we
Cool.
think. Tonight's the Night versus You Wear It Well.
You wear it well.
Oh, really? I think
Yeah,
Tonight's
Madame
the Night.
Onassis got nothing on you, man. And Mrs. Jackie O, come on. You got to put that one in there.
I'm going Tonight's the Night on that one. Hot
You're like
Legs
the,
versus Reason to Believe.
ooh, oh, man. Okay. Are we, okay. I don't know if I asked this before. Are we talking the newer version of Reason to Believe or the original? Not the
I
slow
mean,
one. If we
I
got the
haven't
one,
really.
we got the one that's on Unplugged where it's great. Yeah. But I have to go Hot Legs. I got to go Hot Legs on that one. That's just too
Yeah, I think
iconic.
Hot Legs gets that. Infatuation versus Every Picture Tells a Story. I think Infatuation moves on.
Yeah, I will. Infatuation. Yeah.
The First Cut Is the Deepest versus My Heart Can Tell You No. A Sarah Evans song versus a Sheryl Crow song.
Cat Stevens.
Yeah.
Only Rod
Ooh,
Stewart
this is
nerds would know that. Hey, that's a
this
great
is
Sheryl Crow song that Rod Stewart covered 20 years before she was into music. Oh yeah, no, it's Cat
yeah.
Stevens.
This is a tough one
Uh,
for me.
I have to go. My heart can't tell you no because I'm fatigued with I'm fatigued with the other. It's just it. I mean, they played the heck out of it with Rod, and they played the hell out of it with Cheryl. But so I have to go. My
Yeah,
heart
I'll
can't tell
probably
you
go. My
no,
heart can tell you no.
which is funny
I like
because there's
Sarah.
both those songs were covered by two very attractive women, and I
Yes,
can't
very.
imagine somebody breaking their heart. It's like wow, but that's just me.
Lost in You versus Forever Young.
Lost in you.
I think Forever Young's gonna take that.
Yeah, man, but is he gonna make love
It's
to you like 15 men and Forever Young? No. Lost in You, dude. Have you seen the video, man? He's working at the
yes,
bar and
yes.
and stuff, and he's got better hair than anybody in the whole thing,
He
even the
always
strippers.
does.
Yeah, man, that dude's hair is like, he's
It
I mean,
hasn't changed.
that is some great hair, dude. And I'm a hair challenged. So I mean, I'm a little, and I'm supposedly Scottish and British and stuff. Well, I didn't get that part of it. So I don't know.
Did you see him? It's been a few weeks back, working on the potholes in the road in front of his house with
Yeah, because they wouldn't come fix them.
the road people that were.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were out there, and he he was out there helping them. I was
Yeah.
like, and his hair was just like it was. It was perfect. I was like, oh yeah, that's Rod Stewart. He never
He
aged.
I mean, he's used to that manual work. He used to dig graves for a living before he broke
Oh
big. I
yeah,
mean, you talk about manual labor, but digging a hole that deep, woof.
and that's not one of my. I will do it if I have to, but that's not on my
Well, they
list
probably
of
didn't have backhoes
jobs.
like they do now.
Nothing against grave diggers, but I'm kind of creeped out by that. More power to you guys.
Wait till the paranormal
But
episode, then you'll
let's
get
see.
really creeped out.
Oh yeah, You're in My Heart versus Do You Think I'm Sexy?
You're in my heart. Do you think I'm sexy?
Yeah, I think
Not the
that's gonna
revolting
get. I
cock,
think
not
I
my
think
favorite.
that's
So
gonna get it. I think.
no revolting cocks. Nah. I mean, if it's the Rod Stewart, no, I'm just kidding. Too much fatigue.
Look, we've got freaking revolting. I've got bands that I've had heard of till I started doing this podcast. Revolting Cocks, and then there was another one that one of the loudcasters talked about the Mountain Goats. I was like, that's not a real band, and it is a real band. The freaking
Mouthing goats.
Mountain Goats.
Are they like
Yes, look it
are they like
up.
the dogs that sing over the metal bar?
They're not dressed up either. Oh, dude. Oh, let's get through this before I talk about that. Because I'll go on and on. Maggie May versus Young Turks. I think Maggie May's going to get it.
Honestly, if there were two songs that you could erase from the Rod Stewart, you could erase from the Rod
Both of
Stewart
them.
catalog, it would be those two because they were both so overplayed. And I would have to go with
Yeah.
Maggie May only because it's his first hit and it's with Ron Wood and the Faces. But those two songs, I mean, if I never hear them again, I have to go get a beer when he plays them at the concert. So I was like, I don't want to hear it. I mean, those.
I just remember Maggie May every time. It was one of those, and it wasn't Freedom Rock. They got, Freedom Rock, man. It was one of those compilation albums that you always saw at like 12 o'clock after 12 on the TV, and it always played "Wake Up, Maggie."
Yes.
It was always playing that, and then it would go back a little bit later to the little the solo, and I was like, God, I'm so tired of hearing that.
Yes. But it's
Let's
funny.
see.
It's funny talking about Maggie May. That it's funny about that. There's that intro, the guitar part that's on on the album. It's like a little, like almost like a rock bottom there with this little guitar. I had never really heard that because I always heard it on the radio. When I got in the Rod Stewart, I go, "What is this?" But they take out that guitar part because I guess it would have been longer. But that's a cool commercial because it shows the Faces with Ron Wood, and that's a great time, great band.
So, the last matchup is. Let me pull this up again. Stay With Me versus Downtown Train.
Mm. Man, this one hurts. These are both in my top 10. And
Yeah.
Downtrodden Train was when I got my first car in 88, 89. That was a big hit. That's the first cassette single I played. Stay With Me is the Stone-ish thing because I love the Stones. This one hurts, but I got to go Stay With Me because it's a Rod. It's not a cover. It's it's not a who's that? Boz Scaggs or whatever covered or he
Yeah.
wrote it. I got to go with Stay With Me.
Bob
I love that song.
Skaggs. Man, that guy could that is a guy that could freaking sing, and not a lot of people know about was Bob Skaggs. What was that song? Look What You Done to Me. That was on. I think it was on. Gosh, Urban Cowboy, the Urban Cowboy soundtrack, and then he did another song called Heart of Mine that was so good, and I was like, who is this freaking guy? And they were like Bob Skaggs. I was like, who the heck is Bob Skaggs? But yeah, Bob Skaggs can freaking
Is
sing.
it Boz or Boz, right? Boz Scaggs?
B-O-Z. B-O-Z.
Yeah.
Boz. So that what is wrong with my voice tonight? I've been singing too much. Singing too much Mountain Goat and Revolting Cock songs.
Just
Karaoke.
don't do them together, man. That may be a whole new episode altogether.
Oh God. That could be bad.
That's probably
So-
when we shouldn't film.
That does the Sweet 16 of the Rod Stewart. And next week we'll update you. We'll get to the Elite Eight next week. But
It's
this
Stevie. It's funny when you invited me to come on, and we were talking, I guess, through like Facebook, and you were talking, and we were talking about subjects. We started talking, and I couldn't think of anything because I mean we can still find stuff about Kiss that hasn't been discussed. I'm sure we could do that.
yeah.
But I was like, thinking, what's a podcast I haven't heard that I'd like to do? And I suggested Rod Stewart. And I got friends of mine who are like, Rod Stewart? I mean, it's like, are you into Lawrence Welk too? But I mean, it's a lot of my friends don't have the classic thing I do. I'm more, I think that's why I get along with you guys, from, Shout Out Ladcast. We're all about the same age, but we have roots. We have roots we grew up with. That's from our parents. And it's like and they're just more, if it's after before 1980, they don't want to hear it, And so they listen to a lot of this new country, which you're helping me get into it, and I'm seeing it more. But it's like I said, well, Rod Stewart, and I think you got back to me, that'd be cool. And I'm like,
Yeah.
really? I mean, you want to,
Well,
and I was thinking, people at my age may not like Rod Stewart. And then I hear about Zeus, and then you guys like him. I mean, you can name 10 Rod Stewart songs that aren't on the radio. And that's what's cool about it, is that you didn't laugh at me for my pick like my friends do. But I mean, he's my favorite all-time singer, and it's like probably one of the, and a lot we're going to talk about tonight, ZZ Top. They're not related, but if you talk about my earliest memories of music besides Glenn Campbell and George Strait and George Jones, that stuff I grew up listening to, Rod Stewart is it. And I was like, you said, yeah, let's do it. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, wow, this is cool. And I think that when you had your list, I was like, wow, some stuff. And it's not like talking to myself to where, it's like, where you get me, what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I think I'm getting you too, because I mean, obviously, both our lists were wrong, and that's another story. But
according to Zeus.
But
let's just get one thing straight about this podcast. And if you follow us on Twitter, you follow us on Facebook, I'm a fan of like 80s rock. I'm a big fan of that. But if you knew something, and if you could look at this list I'm looking at right now, and some I liked, some I didn't like, of the list, the album challenge I'm doing. This is not a podcast just about 80s rock music. This is a podcast, it's about music. And I'm like, I don't get it when people try to typecast. Well, if you listen to 80s rock music, you can't listen to country.
Yeah, that's bull.
I mean, that's why when Zeus came on to do 90s country with me, that was so great, but you can't listen to you know, if you listen to rap music, you can't listen to rock music. If you listen to this, like if you listen to 80s rock music, you can't listen to Debbie Gibson. Well, wrong. I will. I do.
Dude,
But
I saw out of the blue. I was watching VH. I was watching 80s, and out of the blue came on. And is that the one where she's in the bed, like where she's like doing stuff, and she like writes on her knee? She like, well, no, not that kind of
yeah,
bed scene.
that
She's like ripped jeans,
didn't sound
ripped jeans,
good.
ripped jeans that would make Joe Elliott proud. And she's sitting there writing on here,
Oh
and it's like,
God.
oh, that's my buddy Stevie's. I mean, that's was his. And
Oh
I'm trying to
God.
think of who I was in at that age. Probably Samantha Fox or Lita Ford. That is
Yeah.
like Nancy
Lita Ford
Wilson.
was
Nancy Wilson.
look, I mean, that's what we're talking about here. Just because we talk about a lot,
Yeah.
we talk about a lot of we're gonna talk about Kiss a lot. We talk about Ozzy, but this week on my album challenge, I'm gonna read, and some of these I don't like, some of these were painful to get through. Just who I've gone through this week. The Fat Boys, remember them?
But
Yeah, Crush,
didn't they do Wipeout or something like that?
Wipeout with the Beach
Yeah.
Boys. Yeah,
No, but didn't they do a cover of that? Or
yeah, they
the
did,
Fab
and the Beach Boys came on there. Uh,
Useless information.
yes, sir. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Gloria Estefan. I did one of her albums. Foreigner,
I
Inside Information.
Dude, that's a good album, Foreigner. You gotta.
Yeah,
That's a good album. Gloria Stefan. There's nothing. I like Gloria stuff. I like Miami
I
Sound
do
Machine.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joan Jett, up your alley.
She shouldn't have been in
This
the Hall of Fame before Pat Benatar for. That's the only thing I have a problem
this is
with.
where I'm gonna lose. This is where I'm gonna lose some rock credibility here. And I put this up here because it was. I mean, let's get this straight now. I looked to get some of these albums, and you'll see what I'm doing here. By the time period, I will go by like the Billboard charts. What was on that week? I'll write the album down, and I'll say, okay, I'm gonna listen to it. New Kids on the Block, Hanging Tough. Now you talking about a struggle. But not the biggest struggle of the week. All right. Then we got Tiffany. Remember her? Holding old friend's hand. Mike and the Mechanics, Living Years. And then the biggest struggle of the week. And I'm telling you guys, this was absolutely awful. Vanilla Ice to the extreme. That was the worst thing I've ever tried to listen to in my life. Past Ice Ice Baby, and that starts off the album. Let's let's read off some of these the names of the songs up here. Of course, Ice Ice Baby, Yo Vanilla,
Queen.
yeah, Under Pressure, by the way. Stop That Train, Hooked, Ice is Working It. Yeah. Life is a Fantasy. Play that
Aldo
funky
Nova's making
music.
it. Aldo Nova made an appearance on that. Life is just a
No,
fantasy.
no, he
Okay.
didn't make an appearance on this. Play That Funky Music,
That was a single.
which was that. Yeah, that was a single. Dancing, which they sampled Dancing Machine by Jackson's. Go Ill. Yeah, I got ill after listening to this. It's a party. Juice to Get Loose by. Ice Cold. I Like It, in parentheses. Rasta Man, which he does a Jamaican rap there. That was painful. And then he tried to be LL Cool J and put I Love You. And then the last song, Having a Roni. And no, he wasn't talking about having a slice like Ace Frehley. He was some it's a slice.
I'm
But
gonna.
yeah, that was
Admit
painful,
something to you.
bud.
I'm gonna admit something to you about Vanilla Ice. The dude can build a hell of a house, evidently. I've seen his show. But there was a time I go to Dallas quite often to go to Cowboy games. So a bunch of us, we went to God, this had to be the Tony Romo years. So we probably lost. He was playing some little club that we went to. It was called Firewater. It was a neat little club. He was playing there. he had like, I think it's around the time he started rocking up his stuff, kind of making it more metal.
Oh
And I
yeah,
don't
I
know if it
remember
was
that.
I don't know if it was the Cervezas talking, but man, we had a good time. I mean, a couple of us, not me, had to get, kind of hauled out of there, because but we were jamming, dude. I mean, dude, it was a great show from what I can remember. I mean, granted, I mean, I drank Budweiser back then and instead of like now, but the dude put on a good show, man. And the album, you're right, is
Yeah.
horrible because I remember hearing it back in the day, and it was pretty bad. And didn't he do another one that was even worse? Didn't he do something with the Ninja Turtles or something like that?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
like go
Ninja
Ninja, go
rap.
Ninja, go.
Ninja rap.
Yeah,
Go ninja. Go ninja. Go. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Please go. You go somewhere.
Hey, have you ever heard that
Not me.
story? I heard a story. I was watching. I don't know, Behind the Music or something like that. He was. He
Suge
said he
Knight.
knew he had to get out of the business because he ran into Suge Knight, I guess, and they held him over to
Yeah.
turn over those rights or something like
Put a
that. And
New
it's
Jack
like,
City on him.
yeah, I've never seen that movie, by the way. Is that in your top 10?
No, I'll tell you. No, I won't tell you that story. Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you that story later. Yeah. Ooh. So the main event tonight, ZZ Top, in a band. I'm familiar with ZZ Top to a point. Not like you are. I guess when I got into ZZ Top, when I started being familiar with ZZ Top was what Recycler when that started, and then
Recycler or Eliminator?
no, it was Recycler. I started listen. I would listen to Recycler, but then I went back because, and I don't want to give away that story yet about how
Okay.
why I wanted to listen to Eliminator, but that was a wrestling story there. But we'll talk about that when we get to that song. Uh, but yeah, so some of
What
this
did you
stuff I'm hearing, some of the stuff on your list I'm hearing for the first time, and some of it was,
really?
you know,
Are you
yeah,
going to be a lot? Are
yeah.
you going to be a lot more brutal than I was with Daughtry? Because I
I don't
think
think I'm gonna
Daughtry.
be
I mean,
brutal.
I had nothing but praise for Daughtry. I liked it.
Yeah,
Was
I
it my
don't
kind
know.
of
It's
stuff?
not going to be
Okay.
brutal because a lot of this stuff and I guess I listened to your top 10 list probably about 5 or 6 times because I was like, some of these songs would have to grow on you as, especially when it's only your first time hearing it. But yeah, so let's get right into this. Got my
So,
trusty notebook, my Coach Klein notebook.
so I'm interested to say before we get into the list, what do you think about the documentary?
Documentary was great. I mean, it was great. You found out a lot. I did not realize, and I did a lot of looking back. They're the longest group that's been
Were
together the longest with the three members without any breakup of any group that's been around. Because I think they from '69, and then they took that
yeah.
break when Beard went into rehab.
Oh, and
And
then Dusty went to go
like you said, we needed that. So
and then Dusty went to go work at an
you
airport.
know,
I love that. I just went and got me a regular job. They just knew
yeah,
me as Dusty. I was like,
yeah. I just went out and got me a
wow.
job. I
I'm
figured
a
I'd just
regular
go
guy
ahead and
with a
work at the
lot of money.
airport.
Yeah, I mean yeah, that was funny. The
But it just
the
it just always, with ZZ Top, it just always was funny to me, and I know everybody knows that. That hold on, what we got here? Oh, they're doing it. That the beard thing, and then the guy without the beard, his last name's Beard. I mean, that was
and
pretty
it
cool.
wasn't and it wasn't anything they like tried to do. They just didn't
No,
shave while they were taking a break. It's
yep.
like you're the marketing geniuses and like, no, we just lazy.
No, we just didn't check. And what did he say? We were just lazy.
Yeah.
We, so
It's funny about ZZ Top and kind of talking about the documentary. I the place that they're traveling to, the car is called Green Hall. It's in a little tall green. It's outside here. You've had artists
mhm.
like Garth Brooks play there, George Strait, and ZZ Top kind of got their start from there. I mean, it's a small little place. I think when Garth played it a few years ago, it was like you ain't getting no ticket unless you bring back Chris Gaines, I guess. But I guess people would catch on to that. But that place is so iconic. I mean, I knew that ZZ Top started out there and George Strait did, but I mean, I just to see that and being from Texas, and it's like that's right up the road from me. And then seeing Frank Beard have this nice Lake Austin house, and then but it looks like does Billy Gibbons. He's like the journeyman. He's always playing. He doesn't stop. But I mean, it was like it really hit home, and they called them the little old band from Texas. They took that as their name, but that was an insult back then. I mean, they were look. I mean, there was a time in the late '60s and '70s that the Southern man wasn't exactly like, especially Texas. They thought we were just
Yeah.
nuts, and a lot of them still do. Because when people ask me about some, hey, do you tie your horse up? I mean, I went to California once, and I got and it's like, well, typical your team would be the Cowboys, and I'm no cowboy, but I mean, it was neat to see it as they kind of broke that. I think they broke that mold a little bit and kind of exposed it, because when they were playing that blues festival, and all those artists were like, "Oh, these boys can play," and they were like,
Yeah.
"Who are?" I mean, you saw what they look like, or like, "Who are these guys?" And then like all those old bluesmen were like new and they played the blues. But I will say something about ZZ Top before we get into the list. And Billy Bob Thornton highlighted this very well. There are two ZZ Tops. You have your 70s era, and when they came back, you have your Eliminator era up through Recycler. And they're two different bands. They are, I mean, because I got
Oh yeah.
my friends
You can
hate
listen to them and tell
they
that.
they hate the electric drums. They hate all that stuff because they grew up with, all those albums.
Yeah.
And they were a heavy blues band. And I got a good friend of mine, Jeff. He got a picture with Billy Gibbons, and he said Billy Gibbons is the coolest dude. And he does look. I
I can
mean,
see that.
yeah, he just looks like a gold. I mean, there's pictures of him with Paul. I mean, he just seems like, and they played with Kiss. They were talking about Kiss on that episode, that one of their
Yeah.
managers had worked with Kiss. And it's like, God, Kiss and ZZ Top. You probably talk about, you think Rush and ZZ Top are worlds apart, but I mean, maybe ZZ Top in the '80s opening up for Kiss, but man, the one in the '70s, man, they were just a good blues band.
That wouldn't work.
And one thing about ZZ Top too is that listening to ZZ Top and hearing kind of these songs again took me back, and I would have to say I would have to edit my top 10. And not the top five. The top five is pretty set, but in the six, the bottom five, I'd have to take one out and put one in. I'd put ZZ Top in, and I bet you
There
can't
was
realize who it is.
there was mm, there was, I don't know, but there was one that they sang on on that documentary that I really liked, and I went back and listened to that, and I was like, and I was surprised that I liked it because I'm not a big blues guy. Uh, I like a little bit of it, but I'm not a big blues guy. This was, I mean, that's in the name of the song, uh, "Blue Jean Blues." That was, I was like, they wrote this song about freaking getting a pair of blue jeans back from from a girl. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, and we'll talk about this before we get off there. The song you talked about, we were talking about new country this week. I'm not that big into new country. I'm listening to a little bit because of my daughter listens to it when we're on the way somewhere. But that song that I sent to you today, we'll talk about that when we get through with this. That's a simple song. Why I was like a songwriter, why couldn't I come up with that? You know. But anyway, let's get right into it. All right, we
Okay.
want to start from 10 to 1.
I'll do 10-1.
Yeah.
And I know this list. I mean, especially if you're a ZZ Top aficionado, you're gonna hate it. But honestly, if it was up to me, I'd put everything off not Eliminator, Afterburner on this, because I love that album. It's their, to me, heaviest kind of, next to Eliminator. I like that stuff, that '80s heavy stuff and like the '80s Kiss stuff with the keyboard. Are they synthesizers and keyboards the same thing? I love that.
Yeah, I
I
think
mean, that's
I
when I
don't
got
know.
into
I'm not big.
Van Halen. When I heard Jump, it's like, oh my god, he got keyboards.
Yeah.
I love that, and I love the David Lee Roth stuff with Stand Up. I love that stuff. So it's typical '80s. So I may have left some stuff off my list that diehards will hate. I got friends of mine who are like, oh my god, that's blasphemy. But the only list that is correct is your own. I've learned that.
That's
The
right.
only, yeah. I mean, we all have different lists, and I'm interested to see when we put this on Twitter what the response was, boy. Yeah, this is just my list, and my number 10 is probably the earliest song I remember from ZZ Top. I think I was hanging out with my babysitter back around 76. And her son was a sheriff, so they'd have friends over drinking this thing called, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, called Schlitz beer. Have you ever heard of Schlitz? It was a
Yes, let's
Texas. It was a
malt
Texas
liquor
beer.
beer.
Yeah, but that was
No,
big
it
in
doesn't.
Texas. Yeah, no, no,
Not the
no
bull.
one does it kind of special. No, that's not. Tonight is something kind of special. No,
I
this
know
is
that's
this is
not Schlitz. I know.
yeah. Okay, okay. Well, I can remember them drinking beer, and I can remember them playing ZZ Top. I can remember playing the Stones. So if there's one song that's my earliest ZZ Top recollection, it's "Only Love," and it was off an album called Tejas. I think that's how you say it. It's not. I thought
Yep.
it was a Spanish word, but it's actually a Indian word. And it's for like friend, which I think is pretty cool. Or friend, amigo, whatever. Um, I think it symbolizes for me growing up in Texas. There's some songs that I didn't include on mine. There's a song called "Arrested While Driving Blind." I don't know if you ever heard that song. Well, they're singing about when you're driving down that Texas line and you feel that wild turkey bite. You know, don't let Jim Bean in. And they got really after. And Texas was, but I mean, in the last few years, these laws have come out like everywhere. I mean, back in the 70s, it was like society is. It's like it was like kind of open. There wouldn't have as many rules as we have now. But they got on them about that. Well, you're promoting drunken and driving and stuff, but it's no, it was like, no, don't do this stuff. But that era and some of their songs that were on my list, "It's Only Love," it's a little bluesy than what I like. It's
Yeah.
and it's like 76. So while you were like listening to, Detroit Rock City, I was listening to this. So and just songs like this, but that it made my top 10. I really like this song. It's just a nice, cool. I mean, I guess this is my idea of blues. I mean, I don't know if you call it blues, but it's just, I mean, it could almost be like almost a country song if it was a little slower.
Yeah, it could be. But it this was I'll tell you this was my number 9. Um and it sounded at the start of it, the more I listened to it, there was a part of it at the intro. I heard big jet airliner. I don't know. You go back and listen to it. There's a little part
Big old jet.
that you
I
can
hear that.
hear it. It sounds like that, but it's also got that. And I don't know who came first, but it's also got that Leonard Skinner Saturday Night Special.
Yes.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like that. But I love the trading vocals back and forth. A lot of harmonica in it. But yeah, I like this song. It was number
Pretty
9 for me.
pretty close to mine, number 10.
Yeah, yeah. Which
Okay.
I don't know. We're gonna. That's probably as close as we will.
Really?
There may be one
Oh
more that we get
man.
close. There may be one more that we get close to.
All right. Number 9 for me is "What's Up With That." This is off an album that I'm not real too familiar with. And it's called
Rhythming.
Rhythmine. And this is when they kind of started going back to their roots in the
Exactly.
90s when everybody was, after Nirvana happened, they started doing more harmonica and less keyboards. So I like it now because it's got that heavy kind of I mean, it's just a song you can sing to. And I probably only know this song is because I got it's like a triple pack. It came out of CDs. A friend of mine gave it to me, and it was like all their hits, and like it was a great collection. It had stuff like this on it that was from the 90s, and like it was, this is newer stuff. So I like it too because it's a rocking song. I mean, it's not grunge, but it's not rough boy. It's
Yeah,
definitely a change.
yeah. I did not realize, when I listened to this the first time, and I said, well, let me go look at what this album was. Honestly, I thought it, like you said, it had to be an album from the 70s. But after going through the Eliminator, Recycler, Afterburner, I was like, this has got to be from the 70s before they did all that. But like you said, return to the rock, to the blues stuff. It was okay for me. It was number 10 for me.
Okay.
But uh, not it probably like I said the weakest of these 10, which is not bad. I like you said you can really get into it, but it was number 10 for me. The chorus, I wasn't crazy about the chorus. I mean, it was just but
I love
it's
that. I
okay.
love that. Yeah,
It's
I like
okay,
that.
but it's not. It's my number 10. I'll put it that way.
All right. Sorry, that's my cell phone. Must not have paid a
Uh oh.
bill. Must not have
It's
paid a
probably
bill.
it's
Must not have
probably
paid a bill. That's what it was.
it's probably when your friends watching live saying, "What is this guy doing? Talking, putting
Well,
that
I know
down like
this one's going to kind of make some people upset. It's not higher because this song is probably. I mean, it was on. It was on. What's the movie we're talking about with McConaughey? Dazed and Confused.
that?" Oh
It's in.
yeah,
It's in that one. It's in like almost every '70s movie, and it's got Dusty Hill on the vocals, and it's one of their best songs. It's called Tush. Another word, aka getting laid. I mean that for lack of a better word. ZZ Top was like Aerosmith in a lot of ways and Kiss that they just didn't come out and say it. They like back then you had to have an
yeah.
imagination. Like what is a tush? It's like come on.
Come
So
on.
come on, man. And so it's yeah, tush and Dusty Hill. God rest his soul. I just love this song. I mean, it's just like, and he makes it his own. I mean, it's just like, and it's one of ZZ Top's signature songs, and it
Yeah.
should be higher, but I have it lower, and I think probably because just kind of hearing it so much. But it's a short and sweet song. Gets to the point. Like, hey, I want to go get laid. I'm looking for a girl, or whatever you're into. I mean, it's hey, I've been up and I've been down. Dallas, Texas, Hollywood.
Hollywood. This is my number 6. Uh,
Okay.
short but sweet. 2 minute, a little over 2 minutes. From Fandango in 1975, and it's one of those songs. It's really driving. I mean, that guitar work is just driving, and that's what carries it. Uh, Typical Southern rock song from back then. I mean, you can't. This is one we used to have street dances. We closed on once a year during the summer. We closed the
What
whole, which is
you'd have what?
a street dance.
You mean you'd have
You
a
know,
hoedown on a street? That's what it
no,
is, right? A hoedown, right?
it's not a hoedown. This is not. Dude, we're not. Look, dude, we're not. We may be southern, but we're not that southern. Uh, no, we would close the street down. I mean, we'd have a whole big thing here for a whole day. The fire department would cook barbecue
Oh, nice.
and we yeah, and then at night we'd have a band come out and play. We'd close the street down, and this is the kind of stuff they would play. But Tush uh, was written in about 10 minutes at a sound check, and it's the 67th best hard rock song according to VH1. But it's 6 on my list. Love the guitar solo. Guitar solo,
Well, you
and
know
this
why they
is
wrote it in 6 all that short time is because that wild turkey was biting them, like in the other song they talk about. I forgot to mention on this. I was noticing about. I was looking at the album, and I'm real guilty of putting on my playlist, and not really paying attention to it. This is the first part of this album is live. Or no, wait. The first part. This first. Okay. It reminds me. Okay. Okay. It's like part of it's a live album, and I think they did the direct opposite of what Kiss did. They think they put the new stuff first, and I'm not sure. I wrote my notes down. I totally forgot what I'm saying, but yeah, Fandango's a good album, and it was live, and it's a great album. And I know that it's a lot. Part of it's live, like one side of it's live, one side of it's new stuff. So they kind of did like what a live did. Live 2 was. It's in that
right.
vein, but I think it was the direct opposite of what Kiss did, if that makes sense. Okay.
Makes sense.
Number
Makes sense.
number what is that? Number 7?
Number 8.
Is that 8? No, we did 8. 8 was
Yeah,
Tush.
number 7. Number 7. You're
Okay.
right. Number 7.
You should know this one because this is one of your favorite trilogies in the movies. It's Double Back. It's off Recycler. It was in Back to the Future 3 when they made a movie. But even in Frank Beard's drum turn too, when they had and I remember, hey, it's ZZ Top. But Double Back is a great song. I think it's more to the roots, but it's got kind of the keyboards into it. It's not quite like Eliminator or Afterburner. It's kind of a. I always thought that Recycler was a mix. And this is the first time I saw them. I saw them on this tour, the Recycler tour. I was still in high school, and this is during the Black Crowes debacle.
Oh yeah,
Black Crowes
yeah.
were real hot then, and then they got kicked off the tour, and I was pissed. Like I
Oh
love the Black Crowes, and I was so mad. And then
yes.
I don't know who it was that opened it, but it was another one of the blues guys. And like, this is so boring. I nowadays I would probably appreciate it, but when I was a teenager, I was like, I wanted the Black Crowes, which they were a rock band. They weren't just blues like what they had. But I mean, they continue to still play. This tour they played like 3 nights in Houston at the Summit, I believe, and yeah, they're huge down here. And it's like they packed the old arena here where the Spurs used to play back in the day. But just you talk about just probably one of the first like after Kiss. I mean, I saw Kiss in 90. So this had to be not 90, 91, 90, I think 91 I was still in high school. But man, it was so different than anything I ever saw. I mean, they came out like boxes. I mean, it was almost like it was almost animated, but it was live. And then they would disappear.
Right.
And it was like that's pretty cool. I mean, they were always about the characters and you see the beards flowing, but yeah, I think if I would have seen the Black Crowes, I think that would have just been this would probably be my number one concert. They were that good. I mean, my number one is the Stones because of the Stones, but they were great. I mean, Recycler, I love the album, and next to Afterburner, I think it's one of my favorites as well.
So you're gonna probably Double Back was number 3 for me. Back to the Future thing. I can remember finding out that they were the Square Dance band in Back to the Future 3. And I was like, holy crap, it is them. I mean, because they fit right in with that whole time.
You didn't know them when you saw it?
No.
Wow.
Not right when I first watched it. I mean, it didn't hit me. But I'll tell you this. There's a lot, when I go to sleep at night, there's a lot of times I have to have something playing, some kind of music or movie or something on TV. And I was watching Back to the Future 3 one night, and I can remember being so tired because it got to the end of the DVD and it goes back to that title screen. And them playing Double Back Hoedown version was the song that played over and over again on that title screen. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even feel like getting up to turn this off. So I just sat there and listened to it over and over again all night while I'm like, but yeah, this is the ZZ Top that I a little bit before it I got into it, but can't go wrong with the Back to the Future 3. Of course, I'm a big Back to the Future fan.
Just
Michael
the
J.
guitars,
Fox.
the guitars kicking in. That's just, I mean, it's
Oh
pretty
gosh,
cool.
yes.
I mean,
When it starts off, man, it is, and that's one of the things I notice about a lot of this. Coming into this, I knew Billy Gibbons could play, and I knew Dusty Hill could play, but I did not realize how well they played until I really sat down and listened. And you'll hear people talk about, well, it's not. You have to listen to it with your headphones or your earplugs on to really get the. And last night I sat there and I put them on and I was listening to it. Man, I was like, this is great. Double Back was great for me. But yeah, that was my number 3.
Did you ever hear that story about? I think maybe I talked about this when Hendrix was on. I don't know if it's the Night Show.
Oh yeah, he talked about Gibbons.
And I don't know if that was Carson or the guy before him, and it was saying if what one guitarist is out there that he mentioned Billy Gibbons, and I think that's mentioned in the documentary. And Billy Gibbons like what?
What?
I mean, yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, because it said, what was the name of that freaking band he was in? Oh gosh, that he opened for Hendrix. Moving Sidewalks. That's when he was talking about. Yeah, that they did some shows opening for Hendrix, and that's how Hendrix got to hear him. But he definitely said it. I think it was late '60s when he was on there talking about that Gibbons was one of the best guitarists out there. What a compliment, and he's right too.
Well, when you see one, I mean, I'm not a musician, but when you you have four member bands, and you got the rhythm and you got the lead.
Yeah.
But when you have this kind of music and you only have one guitarist, that says a lot about him.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay. Okay. My number, I guess my number five or six. Six.
6.
Six is She's Just Killing Me. It's also the off rhythm. I know I'm saying it wrong. I know. More return to the roots, less keyboards.
Yeah.
But there's a tidbit on this that a lot of people don't know because they probably weren't paying attention to the song when the girl was dancing in the movie. This movie was in
Yeah.
From Dusk Till Dawn.
I knew I'd heard the song before.
Yeah, it's From Dusk Till Dawn, and we all know Selma Hayek and that scene with the snake and the and yeah, and I honestly I was like that was in that movie. I had to go back and watch it. Oh yeah, that song was in the movie.
What? They
I
were
don't know.
playing music?
Yeah, and stuff. And but yeah, another just back to your roots. I mean, I like this more than What's Up with That because it's just. I mean, I got my some of my friends that are ZZ Top, aficionados that like this stuff. They totally discard the '80s, like sounds like Kiss fans, but they like this stuff because it's like, oh, they're not playing electric drums or. I go, dude, this is a great song.
It is.
I mean, and the stuff in the '80s was great. Don't be a snob. But I like this because they definitely evolved with the '90s. I mean, they weren't putting out Sleeping Bag, like they did or Sharp Dressed Man like they did in the '80s.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is back to the roots, and it reminds it just. I mean, that's this song would if I've been to Mexico a few times, and I won't mention the bar because it's a family friendly show what they call it. But yeah, this is the kind of music that I could see them playing, like on a jukebox or, just, I could, you could go down, especially back in there and seeing them playing this song at a bar, this is a good bar song. Like, you put it on the jukebox, and just have a couple beers with your buds or watch women dance. Hey,
Yeah.
whatever works.
I watched Selma Hayek dance.
Yeah.
This was number 8 for me.
Okay.
I did like it though. It was heavier. It's heavier than a lot of the stuff. Like you said, they were with this album. They were going back to their roots, and yeah, one of my notes From Dusk Till Dawn, and I was like exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Because I was like, yeah, I did some of the lyrics talking about "suck my blood," and I was like, oh, is it Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox up here or something? I mean, really?
Oh no,
So
they were vampires in the movie. It's
yeah,
based on the
yeah.
movie. Okay, I got you. I was like, you've seen the movie? No, just seen Selma.
Yeah, yeah, I knew it. Yeah, but it had just come out the day before
Oh,
when I was
gotcha.
looking at this about the whole freaky Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox thing. But yeah,
Well, Megan Fox can make me a freak, but there's a restraining order, so I can't do it. So
so I liked it, but I had it at number 8.
okay, next one, another recycler. I always thought this and Double Back were kind of sister songs because they're a lot alike to me. I think they kind of got the same good guitar starting out, but it's Give It Up. I think it combined the old with the new. This is when they started. I think they probably saw the writing on the wall around 91 saying, hey, this synthesizer stuff probably ain't going to work much longer. But a lot of people don't like Recycler, but I think it's a very good album. I mean, I think, if you don't like the 80s stuff, I think it was definitely a step in the right direction for them if you want to get back to your roots. They didn't quite do it because there were still keyboards, which I love. But yeah, Give It Up. And I always get Give It Up and Double Back mixed up. It's like which one was on Back to the Future? I like had to go back, and they played down here, and I don't know if it's because there's ZZ Top with I'm from Texas, and it's like George Strait. They played the hell out of a lot of George Strait down here, and it's like I don't know how it is in the rest of the country, but I think they were the same with ZZ Top. Like maybe they don't hear as much George up there or ZZ Top, but these two songs, besides they were MTV's big hits. They played the hell out of them down here, and these are two songs that got played a lot, but I still love them. They're still two of my favorite.
I will tell you this. You say that about. It's funny you said that about Double Back in this song, because on my notes I had sounds similar to Double Back, but I've got this at number 7. Like I said, solo's great. Love that, and that's like I said, uh, that's pretty much any of these songs. The solo is great. The guitar work is great. Catchy chorus, similar to Doubleback, but yeah, number 7 for me. Give it up. So we're a little bit different here.
Mhm. So we're at number 4 now, and I
4.
think I think we're going to have a difference on this too. We're going to have a difference on this, my kind of
Oh
story of how it relates to me and how it
yeah,
relates to
definitely.
you, because we talked about this on our what we like, and we talked about pro
Yeah,
wrestling, and
yeah.
we mentioned this song, and you mentioned gorgeous Jimmy Garvin,
You
and I'm
talk
like,
about
and of course, being from Texas and the world class where Garvin was when he kind of first started out, he didn't come
yeah.
out to this song, I don't think.
No, he did.
The Fantastics
Yeah,
did. They were
fantastic did.
Tommy Rogers and Bobby Fulton. They would come out. They had the bright vest and they had the tie. And I think they actually Sharp Dressed Man. This song, especially my grandmother lived up in Dallas, and my mom worked for Southwest Airlines, so I would fly up on the weekends on a pass because they would have the 2 hour Von Erich wrestling. They had like world class when it was syndicated, but they had a local channel that played it. Kevin Von Erich was my boy, and and then
Never wore shoes.
yeah, and then the Fantastics were there, and they had the little, and I think ZZ Top. There's a story, I don't know which podcast I heard it on, but I think that ZZ Top and Frank Beard got some, not or Dusty, got involved somehow, and I don't know who it is. Maybe they're in the Houston area because Houston was real big in the '80s. But they did stuff with the Fantastics, like on commercials for rock radio back
Yeah,
then. That's how big wrestling was, especially in Texas. But I had never, I mean, I went and Googled it, but I never saw Jimmy Garvin come out to that. He came out to something else, and it's probably because of the Fantastics. But I know he's been with
yeah,
Precious. But yeah, Sharp Dressed Man, and you talk about the perfect song, in my opinion. The other singles are great, but this song, they have played it to death.
yes.
When it kicks in, I love this song. It never gets old for me. It's just, I mean, it's like top coat, top hat. I don't worry because my wallet's fat. Oh my lord, that's some great songwriting. How these guys haven't won a Grammy? Yeah, I mean, they probably did. I don't really pay attention to that. But I remember I telling myself, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go to school on Monday, and I'm gonna be sharp dressed because the chicks will just come for me." Yeah, if it was that easy. Yeah, so Sharp Dressed Man, I love it. I mean, we're getting into our early stuff right now, so
This is this is number 2 for me,
wow.
and this is nostalgia, but it's a great song. I love the song. Go out. It's funny you mentioned the Fantastics because when Dusty Hill passed away, I don't know if you follow the surviving member of the Fantastics, which is Bobby Fulton. When Dusty Hill passed away, he posted about how how sad it was and all this. He also shared a picture of something they must have worked together because that ZZ Top gave them both the ZZ Top keychains,
Yeah,
like you
I remember
see.
they had commercials down here. It was called Q102. It was a big rock station, and
Yeah,
they had ZZ Top on there with the Fantastics. But
yeah.
I remember
He
that.
said that it was personally given to him from the band, and he was how sad he was about Dusty Hill passing away. But uh, Jimmy Garvin, when I started watching wrestling, and this was Saturday night. Look, we didn't have cable here. We had 3 channels, and you had
Same.
a antenna. You had an antenna outside that we didn't have one of those fancy things that you could sit in the house and turn it where it turned so we had to go outside with a pipe wrench
Oh wow.
and have somebody at the window saying, "Yeah." So 11:30 at night on a Saturday night, I'm outside with a pipe wrench turning to try to make it so I could watch wrestling. And then you see this guy come out, curly black hair, and this woman coming out spraying hairspray everywhere. And it's that song. I was like, that's a freaking. He was a bad guy, but I was like, that song is pretty good. And
What
you think about this too. They how many of those songs did they use? How much? How do you think ZZ Top got a dime from that? No, they didn't get a dime for that because they were, you know, even WCW back in the early '90s. I think I've heard on other podcasts. Somebody came in there that was trying to help the company, and it was like, "Are y'all paying any licensing fees for this stuff?" And they were like, "What's a licensing fee?" And they're like, "Oh, you're going to get sued. You're going to get sued." But because there were so many, everybody had a song. You know, the Rock and Roll Express had Electric Light Orchestra, Rock and Roll
Rock
was
and roll is
King.
king.
Yeah, and there was actually a guy. He went on to in the WWF, but when he started in the NWA back then, he was called the Warlord. He came out the War Machine by Kiss,
Have you
and
seen
I was
his
like,
makeup? Have you seen his makeup? I'm surprised he hadn't got a letter from Gene.
well,
That is the
yeah.
demon makeup right there.
Well, this guy wasn't. This guy didn't wear makeup. This is another guy you're thinking about.
Well, the Warlord's the one that was in the WWF that has the
Yeah,
Gene
he
makeup.
wore
That's a
that at
Warlord.
WWF, but when he started out and when he was doing War Machine, he wasn't wearing makeup. He just had
Okay.
the reverse mohawk where he had the two things on the side. And he was, yeah, he
Well,
was pretty awesome.
that's how I got into Black Sabbath because
Iron
my
Man,
buddy,
Word
yeah,
Warrior.
because I was watching I was watching and I think it's before I even saw them, but I was reading some wrestling magazine, and I think it's when the Freebirds were in the AWA and they were fighting against the
Yeah,
Road Warriors, and he was talking about do you think Black Sabbath's Iron Man is good? It ain't got nothing on Backstreet USA, and I was or something Skinner, and I asked my buddy, and I go, hey, you knew Black Sabbath is? Of course, I don't. I mean, I don't know who Black Sabbath is. And he goes, yeah. And he goes, there's a song called Iron Man. Is that any good? Oh my God. ACDC convinced me, but when I heard Iron Man, the first and only song I ever learned how to play on the guitar because it's so simple. Oh,
yeah.
and that guy. But hey, I got a question about Jimmy Garvin. What territory was that he was in that you heard that on?
That was in Crockett. He was in the Crockett territory back then. About
Carolinas,
yeah, in the
Mid Atlantic,
Carolinas. It was called Mid Atlantic. Then they changed it to Crockett Promotions. And when I started
NWA.
watching, yeah,
Yeah, that was the one. That was the one that they had all these people don't know they had all these territories throughout and like you probably grew up in the Carolinas. I grew up on World Class, and I
yeah,
remember. And speaking, I know we get off topic here, but there was something. I think it's Bruce Pritchard. Him and who's the guy that does the podcast with Conrad,
Thompson.
which I am so glad he's with Ric Flair again because he keeps Ric Flair on. He keeps him because Ric Flair's like us. He gets kind of like, yeah, I can all these stories.
Yeah,
But there's a story they were talking about how Frank and the ZZ Top broke up and they didn't talk for many years, but they were friends with Houston. Houston had a very big territory in the 70s and 80s too. San Antonio had, Tully Blanchard's dad.
yeah.
Texas was a very big, and wrestling will never have that again. The territories, that is the
No,
greatest era ever because you would see a
I
Ric
agree.
Flair go to Houston. You would see him go to Mid South. You would see him. I mean, you had a
He
champion that
traveled all
was
over the
traveling
place.
over there. And it says they said something that's where I think it's where Frank and Dusty started, or Billy and Dusty and Frank started talking again. They were at wrestling because they loved wrestling so much. And I think it was Bruce Pritchard was talking about it, was saying, because I think he worked for Houston for a while. And he says, well, we kind of helped ZZ Top get back together because that was early 80s before, Eliminator came out and stuff. So I always thought it interesting. But wrestling, I used to love the Von Erichs, but I always liked the Gino Hernandez's, the flamboyant. And I remember when I was up in Dallas one Saturday night and they had this 2-hour show, which, in the 80s was great because you didn't have the internet. And they had this guy out there, this more great hair, these great robes, and women all around him. I was like, who's that dude? I like that dude. It was Ric Flair. Totally a game changer. I went from the Von Erichs to Horseman. I mean, overnight. So you, in a sense, the Carolinas that's what kind of killed Texas wrestling is when they pulled out of the NWA and they tried to run their own way of doing stuff. And the last good thing that came out of Texas was Austin, but that's another podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ric Flair, that to me, the GOAT. And, and you're talking to somebody who, one of them, my second favorite is from San Antonio, but Ric Flair's the GOAT. But that's a wrestling podcast we got to do sometime.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll definitely do that. But Uh, where are we at now? What number
Number
are we on
three.
now? Number three.
Okay. This ought to make the diehards. Okay, the top three. I know that one of them will make the diehards upset, but I think two of my picks will uh, kind of say yeah. And this song here, it's got a meaning to me because I used to work in payroll, and everybody's favorite day is payday, except if when you
Oh
work in
yeah.
payroll, because nobody ever comes up to you, hey man, thanks for getting my check right. No, you messed up my check. That's what you hear. But that intro, dun, dun, I mean, it's just like just got paid today. That's from Real Grand Mud. That's like their first, I guess, hit album. That's like I think number two for them. Um, it's not a single. It should be, but they played it on rock radio like it was. This goes along with Tush. This is a song that's probably way
Yeah.
overplayed, along with like I don't know if you've heard Tube Skeet Boogie or like Francine. Some of that early stuff. That this song is it's got a symbol to me like, hey man, just got a pocket full of change. It's like when you're working your butt off, but hey man, you got some change, go out with your chick, go get you a beer, go get you several beers, maybe some wild
Yeah.
turkey, and that's another story. But just got paid. That I had to put that in my top three because it only wasn't higher because of the two above it. But I just I'd always sing this song on payday. It's kind of like, well, it's payday. I got to work, but at least I can drink after this horrible day when I have to deal with the customers. So.
And I've got it. I've got it at number four. And
Okay.
just like you said, this is a typical, just like you said, simple to the point. People can relate to this song. I just got paid. What they're going to do, and I mean, I think that's what ZZ Top with a lot of these lyrics that they do. They're simple. I mean, and then people can relate. To me, when I listen to the lyrics of some songs, I'm like, this is so simple, but but it's so freaking great that why had somebody come up with this? But just writing about getting paid, going out drink, like you said, going out drinking beers. Uh, like I said, the guitar work is great on this, and number four for me. And I had some songs ahead of it just because, and I'd never heard the song before. So
Really?
that's, no,
Oh my
I'd never
lord!
heard Just Got Paid before. So
It wasn't a
yeah,
single,
for
so
it to
I can
go
see
up to
why.
number
But
four,
it's an album. It's a rock. It's an album track. They played the hell. Then again, I don't different worlds. They may play them more down here in Texas, but
you don't hear. I mean, back when we had these radio stations that weren't so cookie cutter, uh, you you'd hear. I mean, some of this stuff I've heard, like Tush, I've heard a bunch of times. Um, What's up with that? I'd heard before, but a lot of these Easy Top songs pretty much. The old ones are like "Give Me All Your Lovin'," uh, "Sharp Dressed Man" from that era. That's and "Tush"
see,
is what you
see,
hear on the radio.
I could have picked a lot more from Eliminator, but to me, Sharp Dressed Man is my favorite out of all of those. That's how I kind of did it,
You
and
had to
we
narrow
don't
it
have,
down.
and we don't, and I started on this list, and I had like about 50. So
Yeah,
I at work and I played it. Well, I don't like we talked about Elton John coming up.
yeah.
That's tough for me. Travis Tritt,
Oh,
I was kind of surprised I knew 10 songs, but you know what? I love all 10 of them, but that's another. Okay, just got paid. This is the kind of song also to kind of close it out is a song that somebody likes Johnny Cash or
yeah. I can see
that
that.
kind of rebel
I can
music
see
would listen
that.
to. I think that was ZZ Top's biggest appeal is I mean they appealed to the country artists as well, especially with the blues stuff because a lot of that old country stuff with George Jones. I mean it's got its roots in the blues, kind of like sad songs, and I can see a guy listening to Walk the Line then listen to Just Got Paid. All right,
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
number two, and I know that this will people that are like diehards will just like roll their eyes like, oh my god, he got this one wrong. But this is probably my favorite. This is my favorite Billy Gibbons vocal off off ever because it's just so it starts out fast and it just his voice draws you in. And I don't know if it was auto tune, if they had that back then or whatever. But when I think of how Billy Gibbons sings, this is the song I think of. And I had to make sure it was Billy Gibbons because I sometimes can't tell them apart. Like in my number one, they go back and forth. I'm like, is that Billy or Frank? Or not Frank. I keep saying Frank. Billy or Dusty. But this one, I had to Google it. And I knew I was right. But this is off Afterburner. This is the second single off Afterburner. It's Billy Gibbons, and it's called Stages. And I found out, and you look at Afterburner, it was after Eliminator. I was a little bit older. I knew who ZZ Top was. I don't say I've kind of grown out of wrestling, but I kind of grew more into more rock. I was already into like the AC/DC and the kind of the heavier stuff, and I love Afterburner because it's heavy, got the keyboards. But there's another song on there called Velcro Fly that's on Afterburner. I think it's on Afterburner.
Yeah.
That is the most different
It is
ZZ Top ever because it's almost like a techno song, I guess. But this is again people saying why they hated ZZ Top because they weren't who they were. And then also, okay, this was the number 2 single after Sleeping Bag, which is another one of my favorites. But Sleeping Bag was a big hit. It was like number 8, and that's another vocal I like too. But and it's between Sleeping Bag and Stages. It's Stages because Stages is my favorite. But this has to be probably my favorite Billy Gibbons. I mean, and I know it's blasphemy when people say, "Oh my God," when you have all these other songs and this is what you pick, but this is like something I can see them playing on Miami Vice where they're out chasing somebody because it's so fast and it's just got that almost Miami Vice kind of feel that just that glitzy 80s, which I of course, I love, I don't know if this could be on Asylum, but it's pretty, it's in that same kind of era, that just, I just love this song. I can never hear this song enough. I love this song.
Stages out of this list was my number 1.
Wow.
That was the ZZ Top that I started listening to with Sleeping Bag. When Sleeping Bag come out, I was like, okay, these aren't the same guys I saw on, Give Me All Your Lovin' or Short Dress Man. But, it's pretty cool, and I'll tell you what, that album was not bad to me. I liked a lot on that. The Sleeping Bag, and then when Stages came out, and of course, they kind of gave in to the era. Everybody did a ballad, and they did Rough Boy. I didn't mind Rough Boy. I really didn't mind Rough Boy. I kind of liked it, but Stages for me.
That would have been in my top 10
like
if
said,
not for Fatigue for me, Rough Boy.
Yeah, it's got some fatigue to Rough Boy.
Now let me ask you a question.
But
you liked Eliminator, right? You know Eliminator?
Yeah, I like Eliminator.
Because one of my songs off Eliminator was "Can't Stop Rockin'." That's another Dusty Hill vocal.
Yes,
that is a kick butt tune.
It is. It's and I mean it fit the title fits because it is a rocking tune too. But yeah, Stages for me was my number 1.
Okay, that's cool.
And I guess it's just the way because that's when I got into ZZ Top a little bit. I was never a diehard ZZ Top fan, like, oh yeah, ZZ Top's on. But when it came on, when like Stages came on, I was like, okay, this is cool. And
can I ask you a question going into my number 1?
Stages for me is my number 1.
I asked you a question about my number 1 because you already know what it is. Had you ever heard my number 1 before?
No.
Really?
I hadn't. Never.
I didn't think so.
Yeah,
because
never heard it before.
This is off. I'm going to butcher my Spanish here. My Rosetta Stone class I'm taking right now is going to be horrified. Tres Hombres, which is widely considered ZZ Top's greatest album. And mostly, Bob, if you open the gatefold, I have to send you a picture of it. It's got the best looking Mexican plate with nachos and tacos and some beer. I mean, they should have won a Grammy just for the artwork. You talk about the Alive 2 gatefold. This is right behind it. If you like food. Beer drinkers. Beer drinkers and Hellraisers. If I'm not mistaken, I think Motorhead covers this, which I love. I like Motorhead too.
Van Halen covered it.
Did they? Hey, Uh, well, they did a lot
I don't
of
think it was any official release, but they did cover it.
so beer drinkers and hellraisers. This is one that goes back between Billy and Dusty. And I'll be there with my can of dinner. I mean, beer drinkers and hellraisers. And I was telling Stevie that I used to be both these things. Now I'm only one. Now I'm just a beer drinker because my hellraising days are behind me. Not that I ever got arrested or nothing, but this is another bar song, and
Yeah.
that I know that my friends that like ZZ Top are going to be proud of me for this is because that's ZZ Top. Tres Hombres. I mean, I have to send you a picture of it. It's probably it's probably my old school favorite. I don't have the names written out in front of me, but it's my second album after Afterburner. And some people go, "Oh my God, you put those together? Blasphemy!" But yeah, beer drinkers and hellraisers. I love the back and forth, and I just,
Oh yeah.
it's just a great
That was
my song.
that was what uh that was what I said. The back and forth. That was my number five.
Bye.
And yeah, the back and forth, the intro. I love the intro. Love the intro and the guitar. Like we said, the there's so many songs that the guitar is such a driving force in these in all these ZZ Top songs. But doing a little fact check on beer drinkers and hellraisers. Billy Gibbons said he it was a on the way to a gig in Phoenix. They were driving through a West Texas windstorm. The band was waiting to discover a place with some safe ground to cover when the late night lights of a roadside joint appeared. It was just across the line outside El Paso in New Mexico. They ducked in real quick and came face to face with our kind of folks, those soulful souls seeking solace, not only out of the dust and sand, but out of mind. What chance does one get better than that? We joined the gathering and started scribbling. So that's how that came about. But yeah, you talked about Motorhead, and I don't ever remember an official release from Van Halen. They must have played it live, but doing a lot of research, there's a lot of different places that said Van Halen had covered it, so it must have been a concert. But yeah, that's my number five, and like I said, the intro when it kicked in, I was like, oh, this is freaking good. But yeah, and this is what I like about what we do here because I'm looking at these songs. Let's see, just got paid, beer drinkers and hellraisers, and it's only love. I'd never heard before, and I get to hear anytime I get to hear music that I haven't heard before. I'm always looking for something like that, and that's what I like about this. But beer drinker and hellraisers was number five for me.
I got to mention one honorable mention that I think got the most hate. You talk about Velcro Fly getting had, but when they covered Viva Las Vegas,
Yeah,
and that was a fun video. You talk about backlash from the diehards. Like, that's the worst thing they ever did. I loved it. They got y'all want me to come with you? They got the Elvis in there. They got and
yeah.
I had never been to Vegas, but when I saw that
So
video and the girls and the lights, I go, that's the kind of Vegas I want to go to. And it pretty
so
much
you
is.
mean to
It's just a
tell
bunch of
me?
lights that never shut off.
So you mean to tell me there's not only Kiss Tards, but there's ZZ Top Tards too?
Yeah, and yeah, oh yeah, there's yeah, they're I got friends of mine that are like, I mean, they're like that with Kiss. So Kiss was never that's not Kiss after 79. I'm like, well, I got news for you. There's a lot of us that it ain't Kiss before 1986. I mean, we still like them, but and
I've
with
never been that way. I've
Viva
never
Las
been that way
Vegas,
about Kiss.
if you ever seen the video, I mean, we both love Elvis,
Yeah.
and Viva Las Vegas and Margaret Smoke Show. And I had to put Anne Margaret in there. She had nothing to do with ZZ Top, but I think Anne Margaret, I think hottie. Anne Margaret, right? What's Anne Margaret, right? In that movie?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've seen ZZ Top twice. I saw them in 91, 91, and I saw them about 5 years ago. They were opened up for Guns N' Roses. And I had so many opportunities to see, excuse my eye, to see ZZ Top because they would play here a lot. They wouldn't play but they play they would play like theaters and stuff. But I kind of lost. There's so much going on. but
Yeah.
they opened up for Guns N' Roses, and my buddy of mine from high school was like, "Hey, you gonna go to Guns N' Roses?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, I'm not a big Guns N' Roses fan. Duff McKagan's my boy. I like his solo stuff and think Slash is cool. But I had bought some Metallica tickets at the same place, and I got pretty good seats. I spent a little money on them because Metallica's, my number what 3, and they offered me the same tickets. I don't think it sold very well because they haven't played San Antonio since. And it was around, and they the same tickets, but it was so bad they moved us down even further. So we had
Oh
about
wow.
$300 tickets. We had $300 tickets for the show. Guns N' Roses was great, but ZZ Top was the night for me because I was like, and they came out, they did a little thing, and I think they came out and they jammed Wichita Lineman. It's right after Glenn Campbell died, and of course you're in Texas, you got to play some Glenn Campbell, especially when you're Houston, you got ZZ Top. But yeah, Guns N' Roses impressed me. They were good. I'd seen them with Metallica back in the day, and Axl was pulling his stuff, and so I
Yeah.
learn music, but I'm not a big Guns N' Roses isn't my big thing. But I mean, I was there to. I mean, my buddy go, hey, I got these tickets, and they pretty much I paid about $100, 150 for Metallica, but they moved us down because they weren't selling for Guns N' Roses. They were like about $300 tickets. I seen them online, and they gave me to them like for 150. It's like okay, and ZZ Top's playing, but I mean, a lot of people were in ZZ Top that night, so it was. I mean, yeah, that's the last time, and it's kind of I wish I could have seen him like again, but I got to see him, and I kind of wish I seen him more. Kind of like I never got to see Tom Petty or
Yeah.
Prince, but that's like one like. I mean, it's like we got to enjoy our guys while we got them, man, and that's why I went to Kiss 3 times. Yeah, they may not be what they were, but hey, they're still
But
my band. So
yeah, and now of course, Dusty Hill passed away 2021. They've moved on with his
guitar
bass
tech.
guitar tech, yeah, Elwood Francis. That was, and a lot of people were like, "Well, he shouldn't have went on," but that was Dusty Hill's wishes. He told the other two guys, man, that's who you need to go on with. When he got sick, he told them, let Elwood go on and keep on going. And so that's what kills
Hey,
me about a lot of these fans too that they're
you
saying,
think you think Peter said the same thing in '96 when they had to put his drum tech there? Hey, man, I don't want to play this show.
"Look,
Get that guy to go sit in. You think Peter had the
you
same kind of thing that Dusty Hill did?
you bring that up,
Kidding,
and you
kidding.
bring that up, and it brings back a lot of memories for me because I don't know if you were on America Online back in the day,
Yeah, you
and the
got
kids
mail.
they had like a Kiss chat room on America Online, and that's where everybody would go. And all of a sudden, every night you would be in there, and people would start talking back and forth about. Well, then it comes up one night we're in there, and they're talking about it's all people are already saying it's already over. Reunion tour is going to be over. Peter is playing tonight. He's and you know how people jump to conclusions. They've kicked him out of the band and all this stuff, and I'm like, really? And when they're sitting there, there's so much misinformation coming back and forth about it, and you know, he's on drugs again.
Well, it
Some of them were
wasn't.
saying that.
Well, a lot of people they talk about the reunion tour. I think they were good. According to Paul's book, they were all they were all cool, and they were all cool in the reunion. It's like when they got back together, it's like, well, we made a lot of money in the reunion. Let's kind of up it up,
Oh
and
yeah,
and what did Ace say? Oh, I just want to make more than Peter. It's
but but it was just the fact that and then it would come up one night when Ace fell one night, and they were just harping on that about that concert. Ace fell, he's back drinking again, he's high, and all this stuff, which he probably was, but you see
it's like
that on
you.
the
Yeah,
second coming video when he fell.
I didn't do the
But
kiss. I didn't do the kiss
the
chat rooms.
people just look too much into stuff for them sometimes.
I didn't do the kiss chat rooms. I did the wrestling chat rooms. When you talk about, call them KTs or whatever, but man, they're even worse than wrestling. Have you seen that before we go, that Jim Cornette thing where that kid, I just want y'all to say I appreciate what y'all do with your bodies. It's still running me, damn it. I mean, that is like you talk about that
It's
dude's probably a
still
Kiss
real
fan.
to me.
Yeah, that dude's definitely a Kiss fan, you know.
Oh God, I like to die. Can you imagine what Cornette's thinking? Because Cornette was the one up there on
I
the
love
on the
Cornette.
panel. Can you imagine what
I,
Cornette's thinking when he
uh,
sees that guy break down crying though?
I don't know. I think
It's
Cornette would
still
be.
raining, man.
I don't know. I think Cornette would be pretty cool with it because I think he calls out more of the people that are BSing than the actual. I don't think he'd have a problem with it. I got to defend my boy Jim. Maybe we can get him on the podcast. Hey, man, talk about the Fantastics and
Ooh,
ZZ
it.
Top.
I would have so many questions for Cornette,
Oh yeah,
but
his podcasts are like
so we
3 hours. So I think ours are
yes,
long.
and it's a lot of stuff up there that he talks about, and he doesn't hold anything back either.
Which
But
he should. It's his right. So, man, freedom of
yeah,
speech.
oh, it's nothing wrong with it. Um, so we done our ZZ Top, and what we'll do now, we'll put our list up and see what people think, and we'll see what their list is. We'll get some ZZ Top fans. I know there's some ZZ Top fans out there. Of course, you got friends. We'll,
There's a couple
apparently,
right
my
there.
dogs are
Right
ZZ Top
there.
fans.
The stages they're
Apparently, my
going
dogs
through.
are
They're
ZZ
going
Top
through. The
fans.
stages they're going through.
Yeah. But we'll put it up on Twitter and on Facebook on the fly. Then we'll see
Instagram.
what you guys think. Yeah, Instagram too. We're trying to establish a better Instagram presence. How about that? We'll say that way.
Yeah. Stevie,
But
those bikini shots of you just didn't come out right, so we're gonna have to reshoot them. So I sent you that meeting request, so we're gonna do that in
that's all
private.
right.
So, or we could do it live.
The before we go, I said I was going to talk about this tonight, and we talked a little bit about it earlier. But just to reinforce what I said earlier, we are not just a '80s music or '80s hair band or metal podcast. We are music, movies, entertainment. And when I say music, that means whatever we like. That means Rod Stewart. It could be Debbie Gibson. It could be Kiss, and it probably will be all of these. We've even talked about putting some rap in here, some '80s rap in here. So get ready. And if you have any suggestions, if you have anything you think we should listen to, let us know. Email us. I mean, we're real approachable on Facebook. All you got to do is just message us on Facebook, and we'll look at it. We'll listen to it. I'll listen to it. I know, and I'm sure Warden will too. But one song that we talked about New Country earlier, and I'm I haven't had much dealing with New Country, and my daughter has a lot of guys she likes, a lot of people she likes, and usually when we're on a trip somewhere, when I drive somewhere, she's got control of her iPhone and she's listening to her song. There was one song she was playing, and she's played it on a few trips, but I sat there really listening to it, and I was like, okay. Yesterday on the way there, I let her have it on the way there. I had it on the way back, but it's called Flower Shops, and Morgan Waller and this guy named Ernest, and that's all I could get out of it. His name is Ernest, but it's so, like I said earlier about Just Got Paid. It's so simple that ZZ Top wrote, okay, let's write about us getting paid and what we're going to do after we get paid. This guy writes a song about how he screwed up a relationship over and over again. And he's talking to the guy at the flower shop. It's going to take every bit of all your flowers for me to make it right. I mean, he says one line about the roses. If you cut off the thorns, you can't take any more. So, I mean, but it's so great. I mean, it's one it's got a catchy tune, and listen to the Ernest guy talking about how he wrote the song. Of all people, and I didn't tell you this earlier either when we texted back and forth. The golfer John Daly. I don't know if you've seen John Daly before. I'm
Is
sure
that the dude that smokes and
he.
drinks? Is he like the Sandman
Yeah,
the Sandman of golf? Remember the Sandman from ECW?
Sandman.
Got the
Yeah,
cigarette in the hand. And
yeah,
that's what I think of when I think of that guy. I know he is. Yeah.
yeah. He actually sent him an email of some. It was a song he had worked on, and I didn't know John Daly was doing country music, but it was a song he had wrote, and he kept listening to it. He said, "I kept listening to it, and I can't remember what he said the name was, but he was like, you know, the flower thing. it was something about flowers. He said, with flower thing, we can go there. So he said, then I just, he said, we were on the way somewhere and I rolled up a joint and listened to George Jones. And when he said, when I listened to George Jones, it came to me, about a flower shop. And I'm sure that's my daughter commenting right now. It says Facebook user, but I'm sure that my let me look at this because as much as she loves this song and much as I've listened to it, it's finally grown on me, Mallory. You'll love that you had an influence on me. Uh, hold on, let me
So
let
this
me make
song,
sure this is her.
kind of the meaning of this song is kind of like kind of him trying to fix something he messed up or his life's not that great or something like that, right? Is that what you kind of say?
Yeah, he's trying to fix a relationship,
Yeah.
and
You know,
he's definitely got a drinking problem.
it kind of reminds me of, and you may not agree with this. You talk George Jones, I'm talking George Strait. He's got a song called "I Hate Everything."
Yeah,
I hate my job, and it
yeah,
makes the guy think of how lucky he is, and like I kind of see it that way, kind of like you kind of got to take a step back and look at your life. And I kind of him trying to make up with that. I kind of, I mean, most country songs are about messing something up or
yeah.
cheating or
Oh yeah,
something like that. But yeah, I can kind of see that. Like, well, maybe that's not so bad after all. Maybe it's not as good as I had it before. So
yeah. Mallory has had that is my daughter Mallory's comments up here. Ernest and Morgan Wallen are my faves, duh. And this was her other one, great song, LOL. So she knows that she was the one that got me to listen to it, and she looking, you win on that one. So, which I think I've got you to listen to a lot more than you've got me to listen to. Anyway, um,
I did that. I did that for my parents. I tried to. I mean, I tried to tell my dad there's more to music than just Don Williams and Roger Miller. And my mom was
well,
pretty open with it, but when I brought home Master of Puppets, she was like, "Oh, you may have gone kind of on the deep end then." So I get it. I get it.
see, my mom was, she would listen to Kiss. She liked Peter Chris. She loved Peter Chris. I mean, she's Beth. When Beth
Not
come
Rod
out, she
Stewart.
would,
Not Rod Stewart.
yeah, but not Rod Stewart. That Rod Stewart guy, he's, but yet you had the album for some reason. I think that was my dad. My dad was into my dad was in the Air Force for a little while, and he was stationed in California. And my mom moved out there with him for a little while before we were born, and he was big into like Jan and Dean. He was the whole not beach music, but surfer music. I guess that's what you call it. Jan and Dean was one I remember. He had the Dead Man's Curve album. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but
I
yeah,
saw the movie. I watched the movie one time when I was a kid. It is totally, I mean, such a sad story.
yeah,
Is it a true
yeah,
story? I don't know. I never heard of Jan and
yeah.
Dean.
It's true. It's
I thought they
true.
were the Beach Boys because all that wow 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 sounds the same to me. I
They
mean,
all
except
sound
for
right, but
Kokomo.
yeah,
Kokomo is one of the greatest songs ever written.
I've now I could do some Beach Boys. We could do a Beach Boys episode
You're
because
gonna have
I
to you're gonna have to learn me on that one, bro.
see that
Kokomo
could be
and
another top 10
Ko-
there. That could be another.
Kokomo and Wouldn't It Be Nice are about the only two songs, and I know Beach Boys stuff. I'm not a Beach Boys fan. I am not a Beach Boys fan. I saw that too after your Debbie Gibson video. It was playing Kokomo, and it got Stamos on the back, and it's got Elizabeth Shue and Cocktail right after she
Stamos.
did like Karate Kid and stuff. Man, that's one of my Elizabeth Shue. But
Beach
I gotta
Boys.
kind of yeah, Beach Boys is a good one. I wanna talk about a band that I put on my our all things rock, hard rock, and metal. Uh, I heard this on Decibel Geek podcast, and it was Chris. I'm not going to say his last name because I butcher it. But they're out of Nashville. They're from Nashville, and they played this band that I really got into. They're a heavy band, and if you get a chance to look them up in like Apple Music or stuff, like I said, I posted on the page. They're called Lydia's Castle, and I don't know, Stevie, if you're kind of into this. I dig it. I like that heavy. They're like almost Evanescence. What's that? How do you say that word?
Evanescence.
Evanescence. But it's like
Oh God,
rocking. It's it kind of a little bit.
Amy
I was
Lee.
never an Evanescence fan. I like this because it's like she's more kind of Motorheadish, more
Yeah.
the heavier stuff. That's what I like.
let me tell you, bud, Amy Lee from Evanescence, one of the best voices, in
Oh,
my
I believe it.
opinion,
I believe it.
in music.
I believe
I
it.
mean, when she sang "My Immortal," that was, yeah, "My Immortal" is one of my, I won't
I
say my
just
all
I
time favorite songs, but
I
one
never
of our
really got
go
into
to
them.
songs.
I never really got into them. I think that kind of last band that newer that I listened to, this is how long it's been, is when like Stain came out. And who was that guy that
Yeah,
who was no, Stain was great. That first album was awesome.
Aaron
But
Lewis.
no, there was a guy, he died like he was Chris Cornell was like his idol and he made him and I think he killed himself a late I forget what their first album was great, but they went pop. But one step I mean I don't know the name of them and but he recently he had a bout of depression, but that was probably the last kind of new band that I listened to
Yeah,
because when streaming took over, I kind of was guilty of not listening to stuff, so I'm really trying to learn. But if you like the kind of the harder edge with a female singer, Lydia's Castle, and I don't know if they're out of Nashville, I believe, and I don't know if they're signed or not, but kind of on the rock side of the countryside, I love. They got a few songs on Apple Music, but I mean, if they got an album coming, I'll buy it because I want to support. I want to support bands, and that's my yours is to listen to more music. Mine is to actually not
yep,
just buy them on Apple Music, but to actually buy the album because
yeah,
they get paid because you support the
yeah. That would
artist.
be nice for these guys, and we want to try to support new music out here. And any of you guys that have some new music that want to get it, I don't know how much attention we would get you, but we would love to have you on and talk about it. But all right, I'm throwing it out. I don't know if Mallory's still watching, but she's definitely commenting tonight. Uh, who her? She said Ernest and Morgan Wallen in her face. Who is somebody besides those two guys that you think we should listen to in New Country? And I'm going to wait for her response while we're up there. But I'm sure she'll be like, she's in there right now, like I can't believe he asked me this. But that's something we want to put on this. Yeah, we're still live. Who is it? Did you hear me? I think that's her. We want to know who you think we should listen to in New Country. Who you said besides Morgan Waller, and I think I know what the answer is going to be already. And I've already tried to listen to. Oh, we had another comment from Henry Ford, a guy that I graduated with. He like sharp dressed man and legs. But let's see. Was that Mallory? I'm gonna pull up my stuff now. But anyway, so next week, have you froze up on me here? There you
No,
are. Okay, I didn't know if you fell asleep on me
I
or
was
not.
trying to I was trying to see if we were still live on Facebook, but every time I try to look at the comments, it starts playing it back. So I was like, oh no, I won't do that.
Yeah, we've actually got a couple of people in here looking right now. Um,
Yeah, whatever suggestions you want to bring up, it doesn't. I know we got some stuff on like
we
maybe
one thing we haven't
different
done.
ones.
We talked about doing. We haven't we haven't done yet. We talked about doing was something Kiss related,
Yes.
and I think what we should do, and you talked about this earlier, well, early in the week, was we
Refresh
should
my
do
memory. It's not what it used to be. If it's good, tell me. If it's not, just forget I said it.
we should do a top ten ace
Yeah, that'd be good.
episode.
Celebrating his
And
birthday
but here's the thing: his birthday was this past week, 71
yesterday.
years
Yesterday.
old. Here's the thing: do you want to do just Kiss, or do you want to do the solo stuff like with Freely's Comet and stuff like that too?
I think it should encompass everything. Everything Ace, solo, 80s, 70s. I mean, and too bad we can't get a hold of any of that stuff that he released in Jindal. But I guess whatever he released here, let's do it. Is that how you say it,
We
Jindal? Is
can
that
include the guy Jindal. Yeah, that's it.
because there's some stuff? I
Henry
mean,
Henry asked. Henry asked who we listen to in new country music. I really couldn't tell you. We were asking uh, my daughter about that, but we were talking about Morgan Wallen and this guy named Ernest that sang a song called Flower Shop. That's a really good song, Henry. If you want to check that one out,
I like
it's got a catchy tune.
new country. I have to say Luke Combs.
Yeah, Luke Combs is
A friend
one.
of mine turned him on. I heard he's a big Cowboy fan, so I like him already. He obviously drinks so much like I do, so to know the pain. But I heard he sang the song, I guess, national anthem or something at the Cowboys game, which we lost on
Right.
Thanksgiving, I think. And I went back and listened to him and stuff. He's pretty good. He's big now. I know that, but I would, if you kind of like that Toby Keith, that kind of was it bro
Yeah.
country, I guess, But I don't really listen to a lot of new stuff. I try to listen to it on Apple because they have artists and stuff. But I mean, that would probably be the one I would recommend. I dig Luke Combs.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to listen to more. So there's so much out there. I mean, country music's huge. I mean,
Yeah.
You're here today, gone tomorrow. I mean, it's like kind of like the rock used to be. I mean, country's king. I mean, next under hip hop, I think, is isn't it the second after hip hop? I believe. I mean, I'm not a strategist or what's that word?
Sonny Pooney messaged me earlier. We were talking about country music earlier. Sonny Hollywood Pooney, and he mentioned Brett Young. In case you didn't know, it was a good song. I'm not going to say exactly what he said about that song, but yeah, what will happen if you listen to that song? But
I think it would be. I think it would be good to do like a Twitter poll or like a Twitter, like give them 10 lists of like maybe new country that neither one of us are familiar with, right. and we do that maybe and discuss that. Like we could have the feedback on Twitter saying, "Oh, this is what we thought of this song or whatever." That's just an idea.
Not a bad idea.
I think we need to do Ace though, and I think
Henry's throwing shade at you right now. Henry, my buddy, he's a Broncos fan, and he said,
"Oh,
you guys lost to the Broncos."
No, Randy Gregory, no. It's bad enough that Marcus Ware left us and won a ring with the Broncos.
Yeah,
is it Randy Gregory lost? We lost a couple guys.
Randy Gregory.
I'm still pissed about Amari Cooper.
Who is?
And they said the Cowboys may draft a wide receiver today, and it's like, oh no, how are we doing this? It's like Groundhog Day all over again. We need to do the sadness of a Cowboy fan. 96, man. That you talk about a sad episode. But that's it. But I still cheer for them. They're still my team.
Somebody just suggested a band called Drive By Truckers.
I like the name.
And I'm sorry, folks. I have to look on my phone, on the chat and on the phone to see who you are, because it's just coming up here. Oh, Henry's the one that said it. Drive By Truckers, because it just shows you up here. If you don't click like a little, I guess on StreamYard, if you don't click and give them permission, you use your name, they just call you Facebook user. So that's what I'm saying, Facebook user. And
I've been called worse.
One that said Drive By Truckers, question mark. I'll put
Drive By Truckers. Drive By Truckers. I have to listen to that. That's a new one.
I've never heard of them. So yeah, that was his quote there. Drive By Truckers.
Boy, if you look at the
name, I'll just start this up here.
If you look what we lost to the Broncos. Didn't we beat the Broncos in the Super Bowl back in the day? Did we lose?
Back in the 70s, yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Yeah, after y'all lost to the Steelers one of those years.
Well, it wasn't. Yeah, we couldn't beat the Steelers, but we could beat the Broncos, evidently.
You beat the Broncos, and who was the other one? Who was the other team y'all beat? Was it the Dolphins?
Yeah, I think it was the year I was born, 72. So, yeah, and I know the last three, the Bills were twice, and the Steelers. So it's like, yeah, and that's being a Cowboy fan, and I see these documentaries on Jim Kelly and how good of a guy he was. It's like, man, I feel bad, but not really,
I wouldn't feel bad.
No,
I know the same thing to you.
Oh, I know. It's funny by now. I kind of say this. I'm a big Spurs fan, and Timmy's gone, Ginobili and Parker are gone, and so I was watching, and I used to detest Mark Cuban, but I watched him on Shark Tank. I actually like him on Shark Tank. I hate him as an owner, but I was
Yeah.
watching. I guess the Mavericks are doing this. Are they still alive in the playoffs? That's how much I pay attention. But I saw Troy Aikman there, and it's like, well, if my favorite Cowboy of all time can cheer, I guess I can cheer. I can be a Mavericks fan. Are they winning? Like, hey, now I can cheer for a winner, and maybe there's one winner in Dallas. Maybe I can go for the Mavericks.
Hold on, I got to see something here. The Saints, of course, the NFL draft's going on right now, and the Saints have traded up, and I'm wondering if they're going to get a quarterback here. I'm wondering, because we've been talking about it all week. If you didn't watch my mock draft I did
What
with my
pick is
buddy
it?
Gaddis Hodges,
What pick is
we've
it?
been talking about Pittsburgh will probably get Malik Willis, but this may throw a monkey wrench. And I'm not crazy about the quarterbacks in this draft, but we'll
What
see.
pick is it? Are they already picking stuff?
Well, they're on number 11 now. They traded up to number 11, so there's got to be somebody they're trying to jump ahead of. But Pittsburgh doesn't pick to the 20th, so
Don't the
it's
Eagles have
not
like three
Pittsburgh they're
picks
trying
in
to
the
pick.
first? Don't the Eagles have like pick 3 picks in the first round?
They have two. They have
They traded
two.
one away,
There's
right? They
eight
had three.
teams. There's 8 teams with 2 picks in the first round now. So I don't know what. Come on, Goodell. I can't stand Goodell. Tony Gonzalez. Come on. Once they do this pick, we'll get back to it. I just want to see if Jimmy G. Henry has actually got his name on here now. Good job, Henry. You figured that out. We can tell Henry's comment. I'll actually put you up here now, Henry. Jimmy G. What the heck? Jimmy G is not somebody that you want to be. Who's that guy? Just make the pick. Why they got a Chiefs guy, an ex-Chief guy, making this pick? It's for the Saints. He didn't ever play for the Saints. Oh, come on. Anyway, they're going to drag this out forever. I'll find out in a few seconds. So next week, you want to try the top 10 ace?
Let's do it. Just make it the whole catalog. It can be Kiss. It can be because that's Ace. Anything he had a hand in. So I guess it'll have to be something like if it's in Kiss, he had to sing it. So that makes sense.
Yeah,
Stuff,
it
we
would
can
have to
pick
be
that.
a Sony thing. And on the solos, we can't just have. Oh, they traded up for a wide receiver, Chris Olave.
Good. That means
Why
there'll
are the
be one
Saints
less.
Chiefs people cheering?
There'll
That's
be
what I
one
don't
less
understand.
wide
I'm
receiver
lost
we'll get
here.
to choose from since we seem to get rid of those that are perfectly fine.
Hold on a second. Now, me and Henry are going to start getting into this. Henry's talking about Jimmy Garoppolo, the quarterback for the 49ers. It's better than unproven college players. I'd rather have a college player with an upside than a washed up quarterback that gets too much credit for taking his team to a Super Bowl and an NFC Championship game because his defense was great both years and his running game was that carried the team to the Super Bowl, and he can't stay healthy. Anything else you want me to add? So I mean, Jimmy G. Garoppolo. There's a reason why he hasn't been traded yet. He's hurt. Take him to
Well,
Denver. You let
all
him
I
be
can
Russell
say,
Wilson's backup.
the only thing I have to say is that when you talk about overrated quarterbacks, I can't really throw stones because we all know who I'm talking about. So I'll be nice about it.
I'm not going to say
Yeah.
anything on
No,
that,
you don't have to,
but
man. I see it happen every year.
I'm just saying with Garoppolo set all those years behind Brady. Garoppolo got his chance. Yeah, they went to the Super Bowl, but Trent Dilfer also went to the Super Bowl with the
Oh,
Ravens.
Trent
I mean,
Dilfer.
is Trent
Oh my
Dilfer
god.
one of those guys? Oh yeah, Trent Dilfer's a good quarterback. I mean, Garoppolo, in that NFC Championship game when they wanted to go to the Super Bowl when they lost to the Chiefs, their running game had over 200 yards running. He had less than 100 passing yards. And he did, I mean, everybody was like, Garoppolo was great. Well, how about that freaking running back that ran for 200 yards? How about that defense that held?
Isn't Garofalo the one that kind of came between Brady and Belichick?
Yeah,
How Belichick
yeah.
wanted him?
He's like the Yoko Ono of the NFL.
Patriots.
So,
He
all
is
right. So
I saw him one time. I was like, dude, that's I mean, I'm not on that team, but that is a handsome man. It's like,
you
I'm not,
can,
I was like,
and
oh my God, he could be a Hollywood actor. Yeah.
here we go. Henry's Dak, Mayfield, Cam, LSU quarterback went to Raiders, et cetera, et cetera. Uh, you, I will say this, Henry. I'm a Steelers fan, and I'm not a fan of the Browns or anything like that. But if you don't think Baker Mayfield should be the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers right now, he'd be a good quarterback. A lot of people give Baker Mayfield a hard time because of last year. But you go out there and try to throw a pass with your one of your shoulders in a harness. Yeah, you're going to be a little bit off. But that guy gives it everything he's got every game. And we're turning into a sports podcast here.
Typical Sooner, just giving it up. That's all it is.
What did he give up?
No, he's a Sooner. Although CeeDee Lamb, he gets a pass.
Yeah, I wonder why. So if he went,
I don't know. I don't like. I mean, I follow the Cowboys. I'm not a big football fan. I mean, if they started winning, maybe.
Wow, looks like the Lions moved up. But anyway, we're gonna get out of here before we turn into a
don't the Lions have the first 10 picks? They're so bad, aren't they?
They had pick number 2, and it looks like they've moved up to another pick. And I think they're going to try to get a quarterback. I don't know if it's going to be Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis, but they're going to get a quarterback.
It's got to suck for what's his name? Who's the guy that came from the Raiders?
Goff, Jared Goff.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy, he went downhill in a hurry. But all right. So we're once we get through with the sports part of the podcast, we're gonna get out of here. But next week, get ready, guys. The Ace Frehley top 10.
Ace Frehley, lead guitar.
Shock me. But all right, guys.
Teaser, which will not be in my top 10.
Oh, come on now. We'll see.
No.
We'll see. All right, guys.
My first 5 will be fractured 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now they got 5.
Don't even say quad. What is one of those quad fractured or something like that? I can't remember the name.
I think next week when we do this, there are going to be some differences. You're going to be this one definitely because we both know that I'm more Gene and Paul type. So Ace isn't real. Bruce Kulick's my favorite. So I love Ace, but I love it. I love a lot of his 80s stuff too. So
let's see something here. No, I can't do that. All right. That's going to do it for tonight, guys. We've talked about ZZ Top, and we've talked about a little bit of everything else too. NFL, we've talked about NFL draft, whatever else you want to talk to. I would rob Zeus's line, 617-525-4344. And you guys, thank you so much, guys. Follow us, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, subscribe.
On the fly.
Do all that great stuff.
On the fly.
Yeah, on the fly.
YouTube group. We also got All Things Rock.
Yep. Hard rock. We have picked up some subscribers.
Yeah, we got a few there, but we'll put this on. We'll put the show on here for you to view. Tell your friends, and we'll see you next week.
All right, guys, that's it. Y'all have a great week. This has been On the Fly.